The secret is one of them is dead.
Welcome back, everybody, to PLOL. Scoot and I were just talking off mic about this episode, and so it was time to get on mic. Scoot, you were saying that you felt like this episode was not particularly eventful based off of last week's episode.
This episode was just painful for me to get through. Yeah, I feel like we've come off of like some really high pace. Well, and definitely now, like in retrospect, I really appreciate some of the past episodes. But like homecoming murders, maybe somebody getting hit by a car, like affairs being found out, and then this episode was just we were basically in like one room. It felt like the entire time, and just a lot of talking.
Yeah, it was, I don't, in a lot of ways, I told you beforehand that I don't really have anything nice to say about a lot of this episode, but
Yeah.
I agree. Like the last part of it, the last second half felt really talky. But the first half, I would almost say felt, even though we were in it and a lot of stuff was being introduced, I also felt like there wasn't a lot of substance, you know?
Yeah.
So it's a good one though. Like, I mean, there's a part in your half that I was like, fuck, this is juicy. Like, this is kind of good.
Well, and I feel like the last like 5 minutes of my part finally got good again. But and I mean, of course, every episode of the show is great because it's the greatest show. But um
That's true.
the last the first chunk of my half was just there was just a lot of talking going on, and I felt like I felt like everybody was just kind of talking at each other in this episode. Like some people were responding to other people with things that just made no fucking sense to me. There was like some analogies going on that I was not following very well. Maybe I was tired, I don't know. But I felt like there was a lot of words being said, but not a lot actually being said. I don't know. We'll get there.
Yeah, so let's fucking get into it, dog.
Hell yeah.
Hannah's home from the hospital in this one, and I gotta tell you, this cast is intrusive. Like,
Mhm.
what a bad day to have legs, you know? It just seems like this is one of those things that when someone in school would have this happen, you were like, you're fucked. Like, this is so bad.
Forever.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like, or like you'd hear about a kid who had that happen to them in the summer, and
Oh my
like,
god.
it would be like, you would think their mom died. Like, everyone would be like, oh my God, this is all. Like,
No, that
I
would be
think,
the worst.
yeah. Mm. But because she's in this wheelchair, they're making her sleep downstairs because, she can't go up and down the stairs. So she's making a little home base for herself, and she and the girls are there. Like, they're there to sort of help her. I believe that it seems like that she might have asked them to come over and do this, based on the way that they react when she's like, "Oh, I'd rather be alone," but it also does it feel like that, like that she invite I don't because I don't think it feels like she invited them over.
Yeah, I don't know. The Yeah, I'm not sure how they all got there, but definitely like the departure is abrupt.
Like, that thing where people are like trying to help you but it's actually not helpful at all, and you're like, I'd rather just like be pitiful here than like deal with four people or three people talking my ear.
Yeah, that's how I feel
They
most of the time.
I navigate the situation. So,
Yeah.
yeah, she's got this sticker on her cast where the A note was left last time that says Humpty Dumpty was pushed. And again, this is where you can just tell like the writers of the show are at an advanced age because Ari is like, we can get you a new sticker, one that's maybe more like subtle and it'll stay on. And Spencer's like, there weren't a lot of choices. It was either this one or Jesus is coming. Look busy. And
I
like,
would have gone with that one.
I just don't see a teenager talking like that in the year that this was made. Like, what was this, like 2014? No
Something
one
like that,
talked like that. Like, I don't know. Now I don't think kids would even understand like the reference. But Hannah asks about Noel Khan. Has anyone talked to him? And Arya's like, no, I'm actively avoiding him. I'm just trying to look busy every time he sees me, and I am busy like thinking about getting away from him.
yeah.
Whatever her line was. And Hannah like shoots back. She's like, "Oh yeah, if you think that's uncomfortable, you should try being run over by him." And like it was nice to see because like it's only sometimes you can only see how selfish Arya is in the context of her friends. Like if they bring it up, you're like, "Oh yeah, Arya's really selfish," but she's kind of a sleeper in that way. Like you might not realize because she does seem to be kind of the main character on this show in a lot of ways because
Mhm.
we start to see it through her eyes. Like you might not realize that our lead character is like kind of really deeply a selfish person, but she is, and it's like we only occasionally get reminded of that.
Yeah, I don't think that she realizes that she's a selfish person. You know, like she's not that self-aware yet, like because she's a child
No,
essentially.
she has no idea.
Yeah.
This is like it's news to her. I mean, like,
Yeah.
no. And I would argue that a lot of selfish people have no idea that they're selfish. Like, I would say more often than not, oh my God, of course, it's the classic alarms going off. I mean, what do you want me to do? Like, not take my birth control? But I also, yeah, I mean, I got to
No,
do it.
definitely.
This is the thing. I don't know a happy medium with my alarm for this. I don't because like if I turn it off, I'll forget, but then also I have to deal with it every day. And it like is and I did the tropical one because it's so intrusive. Whatever this is, like the island sounding one. I think it's literally called like island or something. But yeah. So um Emily, just like the sad bitch that she is I don't know, something happened to Emily where she just like anytime there's like discomfort, she has to bring up the bright side, which is not to say that that's not a good person to have around, but like
Right.
it's this thing where I'm like, okay, so we're just talking about like Hannah getting run over by a car, like, you know, this guy that Arya like her main concern is that she's dating this guy. Like
Right.
she's not thinking of it as like this is the guy that's been harassing my friends and maybe murdered our mutual. Emily's just like, who gave you this panda? And she's handing her like a stuffed panda that someone had brought to the hospital. And Hannah's like, Lucas. So they're there to help her get adjusted. So they offer her some food. And apparently Hannah's mom had left a meal in the fridge for her. And Hannah, I'm guessing based off the way Hannah reacted to this, whatever her mom makes for her is like just more to add to the Marin women's lore of poor eating behavior.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
like she's
I
like,
don't
I want a Pop Tart. I want to eat something real. Like I don't want to eat something that looks like mush. And I'm like, girl, we don't even know what your mom cooked.
I know. I mean, I'm sure that it wasn't some anything fantastic because we know Ashley. A
Yeah, she
Pop-Tart alternative
struggles.
though is really something.
Didn't we see her like make a salad or something and we were like, why is she struggling so hard?
She tried to make fucking Wilden like eggs.
Yes, and she seemed so foreign with the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like she was like, what is this?
Mhm.
But yeah, so the girls go out to get some stuff in the car and Hannah's gonna reach up to the cabinet using her crutch. And when she does, she accidentally knocks down a box of lasagna. Guys, if you've heard us, if you've been listening since the beginning, you know we've been talking about this lasagna. So this is what it all leads to, is that Ashley has stuffed the lasagna box with all the cash that she stole from that terrible elderly woman at the bank. And
I,
she's just shocked. I mean, like, it's not every day you come across like $250,000 in cash in a lasagna box in your mom's house when you're broke, you know, like it's fair to say that that was, I honestly thought she recovered from it pretty well because she wants to hide it from the girls.
yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
just thought it was funny that, like, I mean, in any other households, the the box of pasta is not the right spot to hide money in. But we know that the Marin household is an eating disorder house.
one could even argue that Ashley does not have a good flow or understanding of how a kitchen is supposed to work.
Yeah,
Like there's this next to the fridge up high in a shelf is a random box of unopened lasagna, like, or sorry, opened lasagna. Like that's chaos. Like that
it's
should
up
maybe be near
really
the
high.
stove. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That I mean, well, the kitchen is foreign to them.
Yeah, that's
Even though I feel
definitely
like
the
it's the only like I feel like it's the only part of the Marin household that we ever see, which is funny because I feel like it's probably the part of the household that those two girls actually don't spend any time in real life.
yeah, I remember that we like get to see Hannah's bedroom like twice.
Yeah.
It's kind of mental. So the girls come in and Hannah's, you know, sort of scrambling and she just is like kind of like, I think I want to be alone. Like I just want to be by myself. I'm tired. And Spencer says there's so many things in the way that they speak to each other in this episode where they're so condescending
I
and
know.
they actually dump on Hannah kind of a disturbing amount for me. Like I found it jarring where I was sort of like, is this because you guys have been helping her out or whatever? Like, remember, Hannah's your savior, where she went and camped out at the party you went to when you weren't like your friend, your main friend isn't isn't at this birthday party and you still went. Like, what's
I
wrong with
know.
you? Um, but yeah, like I don't know, like sometimes the way they talk about her is discouraging. So Spencer looks at the lasagna and is like, oh, no, no, this is before that. She says, you don't have to put on a brave face for us. It's okay. We get it. And it's like, does she look like she's putting on a brave face? She just said she wants to take a nap.
Yeah, she doesn't she more so just looks like somebody that's like, I'm done with all of there's been people around her, she's been in the hospital, like doctors, visitors, moms. It's like just she just needs like a second.
Yeah, it was a very strange reading of for Spencer. Like, I was sort of like, babe, like, are you even like on the list of reasons why I feel like someone might be kicking me out of their house? The least one I would suspect is that they were putting on a brave face about their broken leg.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
know. It would
I'd
be
be
one
like, do
thing
you
if
have
it was
someone
like
coming over? Like, are you hooking up with someone? Like, what's going on?
yeah, right. Or if it was like a different like affliction, like if she was like grieving something and wanted to be alone, then maybe that would be like an appropriate like, you don't need to like try to pretend like everything's okay. But it's like this is just a broken leg and she's been on pills and she just wants to go to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, so she's like, "Oh, I'm pilled out," essentially. And Spencer nods to lasagna on her lap and she's like, "You know you have to boil that first, right?" And I was like, "Ew." And then like I think we're supposed to think that that was not condescending because then Spencer leans down and kisses her on her head.
I know. I took note of that too. I was like, what's up with that smooch?
Yeah, I was just like she's I mean, I can understand. Like, I'm very like loving with my friends, not always physically like that, but like the concept of it isn't crazy to me. But that said, like I can't imagine kissing one of my friends on the head, especially after making a slam.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I have got no problems like smooching my friends, but um I just feel like we haven't like seen that before. And it just seems like I don't know. It
Like
just
that
seems
kind of
weird.
intimacy. Well, because like I struggle with the fact sometimes, like in this episode, it felt I felt reminded of how inorganic their friendship was again. Like once they got moving, like things they've sort of fallen into lockstep as good friends now, but like when they didn't really hang out for like a couple years, it seems like.
Right. Yeah, no, they
So
didn't because like Arya was away. After like Allison was the glue, and then when the glue went away, everything else kind of went away. And this all seems like they're back together relatively like at the start of the school year, you know? So only like a few months.
like if anything, I would imagine that sharing this secret amongst themselves, which is like their bonding point at this point, right? Like I would feel like that would cause more discord and dis-ease with one another. Do you know what I mean? Like a real lack of ease around that. So I don't know. Unease is the word, not disease. I always say that because I think that's what like addicts call it. And it always stood out to me, like the ease part and disease. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I remember like a masseuse at that I used to see saying that to me because he was talking about his own sobriety, and I remember being like, that's so interesting. Like I'll have to hold on to that thought. So it hasn't left me. So
Mhm.
once they're gone, Hannah gets a text from A that says, like mommy, like daughter, can you run from the law on those legs? So then Ashley comes home with all sorts of things to spoil Hannah. She has like a husband pillow with like a heating pad in it. It seems like she really went all out at Target, which
Mhm.
like my mom would have been like, we have pillows at home.
Yeah.
Like I'll stack them up for you and make it nice. But
Yeah,
like,
no, the
yeah,
most I ever got was like if I was like really sick, like home with like the flu or something, I would get like a pair of fuzzy socks, which were dope.
mhm. Yeah. It feels like it feels like Ashley going out and buying new home goods doesn't make a ton of sense, but it happens. So Hannah's like, what happened to like us not spending money? And Ashley's like, I told you things are better now. The bank loan came through. And Hannah's like, in the lasagna box. And I'm like, she's nervy. Like, I don't think I would have had the nerve to say that to my mom. Granted, she couldn't put the lasagna back in the cabinet based on where she is, but I would
That's
be the
true.
first thing I would do is be like, I would just be terrified about how I'm going to break this news of the lasagna to my mom.
Yeah, I was surprised that Hannah told Ashley so quickly, and I was surprised that what you're about to say, Ashley like tells Hannah the truth so quickly.
Yeah, do you ever get like did you ever when you were a kid get a peek behind the curtain with your parents of like, oh, this is what's actually going on versus what they told me? And it's like not it's there's something comforting about it, I would almost say, because you're like, now I know what's going on. So like I can just keep that to myself and deal with whatever we're doing, whatever I'm supposed to be playing along with because I know the truth. But also it's a
Yeah.
little like, oh damn, you're not so slick. Like that's crazy. Like it's one of the first cracks you have when you like in realizing that your parents are people.
Yeah. I definitely know what you're talking about, but and I definitely would have kept kept that knowledge to myself and just acted accordingly.
Like I don't think one of the girls would have thought twice about stuffing that lasagna back for her.
No, I don't think so either.
But anyway, Ashley sees the lasagna box on the counter and the tension hangs in the air between them like crazy. Like it's maybe one of the reasons why, because I started to feel like it was going by kind of quickly when I saw this too, and they did do a good job of letting some things sit in discomfort in this episode, whereas I feel like it's not as hard to keep up with as like Law and Order or something where I'm taking notes on that and there's just like, Finn will say something and it's there's five things happening in that sentence. Like Yeah, it if like those moments when we're allowed to have them on PLL feel nice
Yeah.
because there's a lot going on. So Ashley reminds her that they were days away from foreclosure a couple weeks ago. And she refers to it as like this undisclosed loan or something. Like she's using a terminology that's basically like, if Hannah wasn't
Yeah.
going to question it, like you could see why Ashley would be able to get away with it, basically, with like saying like a nonsense answer like that. And Hannah's like, but where, like, how did you get it? And she's like, I took it from a client that won't be back for another year, and I'm gonna return all the money to her. It's not gonna be a problem. And the way that Hannah hears about, like, the way she reacts to it is that she cannot believe her mother would do something immoral to protect them. And it's like, babe, your mom fucked a cop.
I know. Yeah, I know. But I also feel like, and I just feel like that information came out so like abruptly, and I feel like there's so much lying going on in this show that I don't agree with. But if Ashley had decided to not go into detail about that with Hannah, I feel like that's a lie that I actually would have understood. Like telling your daughter we were just about to lose the house, so I just stole a little bit of money from an old lady is like crazy.
Yeah, like I think there had been instances in my life when my mom said, like, you don't need to know,
Right.
enjoy it, like go with it, but you don't need to know. So
Right.
I think that was that could have been something like that. Or like Molly, it's like I'm not telling you because it's better that you don't know. Like I think she would even say stuff like that, like
Right.
whatever. So um yeah, Ashley says that the cash has brought them like bought them enough time already and that she's like not worried about paying it back. And Hannah's like, how? And you know what, Hannah? That's a really good question. How is Ashley going to get another $250,000 that they desperately needed? Like that means we're behind, right? Like they desperately needed this money. How was Ashley planning on earning that money back?
Yeah, I mean you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, but eventually that shit's gonna have to come correct. And I don't know where Ashley is gonna come into like a cool 250K.
Yeah, it's legit drug addict behavior.
Because like any, yeah, like any money that they do get in is going to need to continue to pay for their life. Like, so I don't know where, I don't know.
Right. Unless she's gonna have like a wild leap in her income. I mean, I'd be like, Mom, quit your job and focus on like switching to real estate or something that could be more lucrative for you. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
how she would have faked it though. I mean, maybe Ashley could have taken some fake cash and put it in there. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, maybe it could have been a thing like that where like it wouldn't show up as missing. Because who knows what that lady's putting in the box? We have no idea if that's real money.
yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I mean, I guess she could sell her house,
She could sell the house. Yeah.
that would get
Um,
them some money. Or if she like she only needed like 100K, but she took 200K and then like invested that other 100K and like tried to flip it real quick. I don't
yeah,
know.
I was thinking that's the other option is like, I'm like, oh, I wonder if she knows about Bitcoin. But the thing is with this whole thing is like, I'm just this it's so dire. Like there's something that feels so tortured about it and stupid and like they're holding on to this house that they don't fucking need. Like I think Hannah would prefer if they lived in like a cute sort of metropolitan apartment.
I think at this point, with like the amount of shit that Hannah has gone through, and like she's kind of out of her, because we see her in the first episode with like the stunner shades and like the stealing from the mall, like her focus on being like popular and rich and like skinny is like kind of taking a back burner now because there's murder and like rape and you know
Yeah.
like pedophilia and stuff going on. So I feel like 12 episodes into this, she could probably now have a conversation about like, we don't actually need this 37 bedroom home. And if we sell it, we're going to be in like a much better position. I feel like she's grown a lot in 12 episodes to be able to handle that conversation now.
Yeah, like downsizing is fine. You know,
Right.
I don't know. But yeah, so Ashley's like, I never wanted to tell you about this. That's why I hid it. I figure, a 10-year-old box of carbs in a high up cabinet was a better place to put it than my old makeup bag and box of carbs right away. You're like, okay, these people have very disordered eating.
Yep.
M- Speaking of disordered eating, we cut to Emily's house
Oh my God.
where they're having a very tense breakfast. And by the way, of course, the Fields have a sit down breakfast before school.
Yeah, of
This
course
is
they
one
do.
of the many ways that Pam has made her life hell for no reason. Like, you
It,
don't have to be up like making eggs and some sort of mysterious sausage. That's the thing that finally breaks the silence is her dad's like, what is this meat like meat that I'm eating?
I know he's like, is this beef? She's like, no, it's turkey. Like I thought sausages were pork, first of all. But yeah, I wonder if is she just doing that because Mr. Fields is home, or do you think that's always every day?
No, I think she lives in like a suburban hell. Like,
Yeah,
I think Pam wouldn't know what to do with herself if she didn't like wake up, make eggs, bacon, fruit, like pour her daughter a glass of milk and a glass of OJ and have it all waiting out for her. You know what I mean? Like, she feels like the
yeah,
type of mom that would be uncomfortable with her high school daughter just drinking coffee in the morning. But yeah, it's like this sit down breakfast thing is like, yeah, that's exactly who she is. Um, I don't know. I feel like they have to do everything together type of thing. So her mom's like, Emily, is Maya allergic to anything? Because they're gonna have dinner that night at the house. And Emily's, like, oh no, she doesn't. And she just says it quickly. And like there's this whole thing where the family is they're not just attempting to like accept Emily, and I would say her mom is not really attempting at all, but they also go from like attempting to just generally accept her to like let's bring your girlfriend into the house and make this like a family affair. I'm like, you guys are actively homophobic. Well, her mom is, you know?
yeah, yeah. It just felt like a lot all at once. Like it's okay if we want to do like an easing in on this. And if
Yeah.
I were Emily, I would be like, "Oh no, no, thank you. We will not be having dinner at this house right now."
Yeah, I mean, like, is it's sad to say this, but it's true, is that a lot of my friends who are not straight, wherever they may be, like their parents are somewhat accepting of them, but like they would never be accepting of a partner.
Right.
And so it just feels like a big step for them to be taking right when they're being at least Pam's being actively hostile towards her daughter over this. So when she leaves the table, Emily like cracks a joke to her dad. She's like, she first says something to the extent of like if she's gonna be fucking weird, like we don't have to have Maya over for dinner. And her dad's like, no, 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 no. She's been working on the menu all night. Like, she's excited to go. She's excited to do this. And Emily's like, yeah, maybe my mom will poison Maya. And her dad laughs and he's like, well, if your mom's going to kill her with anything, it's kindness. So,
Yeah.
and by the way, she doesn't. And by the
Yeah,
way,
no.
the dinner is awful. So, yeah, it's a mess. So, Spencer is she looks fucking insane. This is an outfit that I wish I never had to see. I don't know what's going on here. And also, it's one of those things where when you see someone dressed like this, you're like, you're not good with money. Like, like I don't care how rich you are, to own a strange little maroon cap that like it's giving, I don't know, like 30s or something, like 1930s. Like you're not good at spending money. You are never going to wear that hat with any other outfit. And by the way, you shouldn't wear it once.
Yeah, my only note from this scene is what the fuck is Spencer wearing?
Yeah, like her outfit has this like mixture of like sort of a stand up who's faking it till they make it, but also there's something like vaguely um like English about it. Like it almost looks like it could be a version of something that's worn for like a formal sport. It's very strange. But when we first see her, she's doing something I hate to see, which is her kissing anyone.
Yeah.
Like for some reason, watching Spencer kiss is so uncomfortable, and I don't know if it's because the character, like what Troy and Belisario is required to do to play this character, who I think she does pretty expertly play, but or if I just don't like to see Troy and Belisario kissing. But it's one thing or the other.
Yeah, I also feel like I was confused because she was like, "Oh, we better stop before my mom sees us or something." And then Veronica like walks out while they're in the middle of kissing and it's not like a big deal at all.
She's
So I was
standing on the sidewalk, like leaning into Alex's car because he's pulled up in his little convertible. And the way she's leaning into his car is so adult for me that if my mom saw me doing that, I would probably get grounded. Like that would probably be a moment that I would still remember and like get a shudder about as like all, like sort of like get the chills or whatever as an
Yeah.
adult all these years later because there's something very mature about not just the way that she's behaving, but the fact that they're doing it in broad daylight in the middle of town is like just so like Jesus, like the Hastings apparently have it all together, but their daughter's sitting in town square, like making out with the poor boy from the tennis club. Like it's just there's something so off message about Spencer's sexual behavior. But yeah, like her mom comes out of wherever she was, like a coffee shop, I guess, and like barely registers that Spencer is having this makeout. And they start walking down the street, and Alex takes off, and like Spencer and her mom are walking down the street, and her mom's on the phone, like with her father, who's like clearly having a meltdown because this is just the life of a woman. Like, so Ian had all of his stuff delivered from his storage unit to their house because I guess they're married now. So, like, Ian doesn't need to have storage anymore, which
Dude,
is
that
like,
shit was so confusing and so weird to me. Like, why? I mean, I understand if you are like, you know, consolidating households or whatever, but why would you have your shit sent to your in-laws' house when you're not even in town?
and like you live in a cabin in the back. Like, it's not like they have like a lot of room or anything. And I imagine this is equivalent to like anyone's stuff. You know what I mean? So the fact that he does this is strange, but then like it's all in the living room, I guess, and like overwhelming for Mr. Hastings. So what does he do with that information? He calls up his wife and is just like aimlessly bitching to her about it and like acting as if this is urgent when like no, in reality, like you're a man, like you can just walk around the boxes, like how intrusive on your life could this possibly be?
Yeah, or like fucking move them. Move them to the fucking barn.
Or like call your daughter yourself, and like
Yeah.
all he gets from like his wife is basically her just being like, no, your daughter's on her honeymoon, like leave her alone, like we can deal with this later. And so Spencer's behavior in this scene is very weird to me. She becomes like very manipulative when she's with her parents, and she's sort of like, because she can't straight shoot them at all. And I think like there's so many dynamics within the Hastings family itself, but like she turns into sort of a strange character with them. And
Mhm.
she's like, I don't understand why you're not more upset about this. And, the elopement, which she calls it, which I always am like, it's wild to hear that word because I always hears like, we eloped, whatever. Like I feel like I never hear the full word.
Yeah.
But I'm not surprised Spencer chose to bring it out. And her mom's like, I am upset that they're married, but like, what the hell am I gonna do? Like, you can't put it all back in the box. Like, they went and got married and like they're starting their life. And she also says, which I thought this was interesting, long engagements don't mean it'll work either. So I thought that was a sort of an interesting line and also very true.
Yeah, I agree.
So Spencer's like, I don't know. So Melissa sends a picture to her mom from her honeymoon. And her mom is sort of like, it does seem like her mom's sort of over Melissa's shit. Like, I don't understand why this isn't enough for Spencer because she's like, oh, something from the Lovebirds. And she's sort of like tense about it. And Spencer's like, where are they? That looks like the mall by dad's office, which for some reason made me laugh because I was just like, that's so specific. And I'm going to want to know about this mall forever. So Spencer's just
Yeah,
like,
I wanna know about the mall, but I also wanna know where the fuck are they? Where it
yeah,
looks like they're at the mall.
I feel like they have to be in the beach town that we know that they all like this will be put through this board shorts narrative soon, which by the way, it's crazy that we haven't even gotten a board shorts yet.
I know.
So, Pigeon, please. Sorry, she just is like she was chilling and like I thought I'd finally lost her for a second and then she's back up in my shit.
Hi,
Um
Pigeon.
like I love that we're close and I love that she feels like close to me, but she is like now it's like too close. It's like too much. Um
Well, and I swear Timmy's figured out what me sitting here in this place means because he's been sleeping like all day long. But then the second that I got on the computer with you, he was like, let's play with the loudest toy in the house.
She definitely does. And I'm like, I don't know if it's because you want to be social because I'm talking to someone and you want to be a part of it, or if you truly just can't stand that I have one other thing going on besides touching you all day.
Probably a little of
So,
both.
yeah, Spencer just keeps railing on this. And she's like, but why would Melissa give up the kind of like wedding that she was gonna have? And I forget exactly how she phrases it, and I didn't want to write it out all out because it wasn't her best line. But she's like, why would she give it up for this like white trash wedding, essentially? She says something about like, why would she be wanting to drink like Slurpees or something? And her mom tells her that she was a big reason why her sister had such a tough year. And so she should be happy about this. And I just wrote like this family. Like,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I guess like in the context of like Spencer just fucking railing on something when the truth is that Spencer just doesn't like her sister and she probably doesn't really give a shit who her sister married. Like it's not really going to have a lifelong impact on Spencer, but so it does feel like she's sort of picking a bone just because she hates Melissa anyway, but um yeah, and this is the type of line that would definitely shut her up. But like again, like I don't think Spencer was a part of something as much as there's like child predators always in their life.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think Spencer hates Melissa. I think Melissa hates Spencer too. But I also think, Spencer does have like she's working with a little bit more knowledge than the rest of them are working with, where she knows that Ian is like, yeah, a fucking child predator. So I think she's also trying to express like a nervousness, but she can't tell her mom exactly what that is.
That's right. I forgot that no one apparently or allegedly knows about Spencer and Ian hooking up,
Right.
except for Allison, I guess. So Um, they spot Toby out on the street, and Spencer's like, "What the hell is he doing out of jail?" Which is a really good question
Yeah,
because
it is.
she says, like, "Oh, he's out on bail," which surprised me that he was eligible for jail based off of, him committing probably the only murder that's happened in this town in years. So, yeah, she's like, he's probably waiting for his lawyer. And I don't know if she said that because he was milling outside of like, I don't know if we were like in the legal district or something, but like he could be doing anything.
Yeah, he could be doing anything. I don't know. I don't know how, like, because Toby, or is Toby like 17? Is he a little bit older than them?
I think that he might be. I forget if it's like, I don't know. I always thought Jenna was a year older than them, but it feels like Jenna never leaves school at any point. Like we never see her graduate. But yeah, it's possible that like he's 18 and they're 17, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm just wondering, like, how does that work? Like, how do kids get out on bail? Why is he without a parent? The whole thing.
Yeah, and I mean also Toby is like the things that they would have to consider to put that give someone bail is like, are they a flight risk? And like clearly Toby is a flight risk. Like he
Yeah, he
fought
already
like hell
tried.
to not get caught. Yeah. So this is another strange moment in the show with like Hannah and the girls where Emily and Aria have been collecting all of her homework, and Emily has this sort of like stack of textbooks. And Aria's like, no, Hannah doesn't really do well with stacks. And she like makes the executive decision to just give her half of the homework or something. And I'm like, I wrote in my notes, it was just like, this is so strange. Like, I understand that the bit is that Hannah's a ditz, but they speak of her in this episode like she has an IQ of 60.
Well, yeah, and also that's just not how it works. Like, you need your reading materials. Break it up
Yeah.
so it's not one big stack. Give it to her in 4 chunks or something. I don't know, but she needs all of her reading material.
Like, that's not Arya's like decision to be making. Like, sure, if she wants to say, like, hey, is there like, do you want to do a certain subject first or whatever? Or do you just want it
Right.
all? But like to be like, no, we'll give her one at a time. Like, what? So Emily spots Maya, cruises over to her, and this is once again, I am a Maya hater through and through. And I understand that someone listening to this might think, does Molly even like this show? No, it's the best show of all time, which is why it fucking infuriates me when someone doesn't just like cooperate. Where
Right.
I'm like, why are you the worst? Like, why is what you're doing like not that offensive compared to everything else, but you're still the worst person on this show? So,
Yeah, I agree with you. And I was a Maya apologist for the first, like, handful of episodes, but my note here is Maya's an asshole. So I'm
yeah,
coming around.
I mean, like, first of all, she's such a fucking selfish dick in this whole
She
episode.
really is.
But also, like, Emily is like, it's the beginning of me realizing that Emily's like kind of a jock. Like,
Mhm.
because what Maya is she's exceptionally beautiful. Like, why can I talk? Bianca Lawson is a beautiful actress, right? And
Mhm.
by the way, she's like literally 45 and can still play a teenager.
I
But
know.
like there is nothing palatable or redeeming about her personality in any regard. And I almost feel like Emily is so fucking hard up because like this is the first girl that has kissed her like since Allie. But
Mhm.
yeah, she's just yeah, I'm like, Emily, there's other options for you out there. Like, this girl's personality is miserable. Like, are you sure you even like her? Like, have you really thought about it, or are you just suffering her? So Maya is like, Emily's like, oh, hey, like, are you still gonna come to dinner tonight? And she's like, sure, if your parents still want me to. And it's like, yeah, like there has been so much energy that has gone into this, including Emily coming out.
Yeah, right?
And like, so I don't like her like sort of casualness where she's like, I don't know if your parents want me to. It's like, yes, you fucking loser. Like, what's with the passive aggression? So she's like, what should I wear tonight? And Emily's like, anything. A dress? And I just want to remind you, Maya asked, okay? So before we go any further, Maya asked what she should wear. And she
Mhm.
decides to turn that on her head and she goes, oh, like, are you like, is it because your parents are going to think my jeans are butch? And it's like, maybe it's because your girlfriend like wants to see you in a dress. Like, I don't think that's why
Yeah,
she told you to wear a
and
dress.
and also just kind of like understand the moment. It's like I know that like you're like bohemian and your parents are like chill or whatever, but like kind of just understand the moment that is about to go down for your girlfriend and just yeah, just like be respectful.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I feel like in society, especially in the era that like I grew up in and like people my age, like we all were sort of raised with similar thoughts about, oh, well, when you're with people who are a little more conservative, like you want to dress that way, like you don't want to feel out, you don't want to feel out of it and you don't want to be disrespectful. But then like once in a while you'll meet someone who was raised so poorly.
Hmm.
Like like recently I experienced someone like butting into a private conversation in a way that I was like, hello, like how were you raised? Like it really felt like a failing on their parents' part, where I
Yeah.
was like, were you never told to like stay out of conversations that don't have anything to do with you? Or are you new here? Like, what's going on? So Maya's like, she's just being impossible. And Emily's like, it's not going to be like that. My parents aren't like that. But this is a big deal for me. And Arya's like, I gotta go, guys. But Maya, if you decide to wear jeans, iron them, which I think is a really nice way for Arya to sort of introduce Maya to the idea of Emily's family is traditional.
Yeah.
Like, that's really all it means. So when she turns around, also like context clues, like Maya, her dad's in the army.
Right.
Like, he's active military. So um, when she turns around, she sees Noel Khan is walking into the school and he like waves at her. And Noel Khan is Noel Conning throughout this whole episode. Like, this is where I start to realize why he is a legend in this show because there's something like he's a very good looking guy, but there's something very uneasy about him.
Yeah, he's like it gave me vibes of like he's like he would be like a good like politician or something where it's just constantly like he's putting it on for the camera, and I don't mean like the show camera. Like the metaphorical camera, like always has a smile on his face, always like easy breezy, but with like a threatening nature kind of or something.
Well, it's like he's a white man. Like he very much feels like a participant in the patriarchy. And like,
Hmm.
I don't know, like there's no other way to say it than it's just like when you spot it, you know what it is. And like there's something about him just that just seems like he has lived a very unchallenged existence.
Right.
And I agree with you about it's funny because I later on I referenced like a politician when I was talking about him because it's very there's something about his veneer that feels vaguely political. Like it's like you ever meet like a sales guy that's comfortable in life?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, it's sort of like that. So um Maya's like, do you still want to have dinner? And she's like, I do, but my parents are being a little weird about my coming out. Lots of whispering and closed doors, changing the channel when Ellen comes on. And which is like one of Emily's like funny lines in the entirety of the series. But Maya says, like, she's like, oh, I'll wear the girliest dress I own and tell your mom I made it myself. And Emily just goes, like, Maya, like, this is fucking serious. My mom's not like your mom, okay? And like, let's just dial back a second here. Well, Maya's like, do you still want me to come over? Like, Maya, why don't you ask Emily what's going on in her life?
Yeah.
Like, why don't you ask her, like, how are things going? Like, she's so accustomed to her freedoms that it doesn't occur to her that someone else might not have that privilege. And that's like I think the thing about her that I was sort of getting at, where it's like she's rude, but in a way where it's like she doesn't realize that there's a reason why there is order to this world.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. It also just feels like I don't know if Maya is the one that's pushing this dinner, but like what we were saying before, like it just feels like this dinner is very quick to happen, and like maybe Maya could offer up like I don't know, like something that's just not as intimate, like, "Oh, invite your parents to, like, my fucking band concert," or something, like, some other way to do, like, an introduction that is not as intimate and as awkward as this dinner is going to be.
Well, I appreciate Spencer later because she finally like she acknowledges that Maya has personality defects, like like pretty ahead of things. Like she's very like clear about Maya's problems, you know? And I'm like, thankfully, like someone else is pointing out that Maya's weird and like we're acknowledging that she's weird because otherwise her character is such like full of such bullshit. Like there's another one, Sarah Harvey is one too that we meet later, who's like a character that's just so deep, dark, in a pile of bullshit that you're just like, what, like, are we supposed to act like this is normal?
Yeah.
Um, like, yeah. So I just, yeah, there's a thing about her, that finally someone does acknowledge she's weird. She's just like not, this isn't the venue for her. Like, she's not set up to thrive in this. I agree with you that it could have been almost anything else, but like, yeah, I mean, like, I just feel bad for Emily because like she's actively being gay bashed at home, and then she has this girlfriend that's like trying to put the pedal to the metal. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. So, Ezra's teaching The Great Gatsby. Really not much of interest except for Spencer's like looking back at Arya with her fugly hat on. And this is another moment where I'm sort of like, I want to be like, hello, like manners. Because like if I wanted to be cool about the knowledge that I have, I would not have my neck craned, like staring at my friend because who's hooking up with the teacher.
Yeah, and in, like, a loud ass outfit like she's wearing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I would have planned for how I was gonna dress, knowing that I was going into school with the knowledge of my friend fucking the teacher.
I feel like I would have too.
I would have been like, I'm gonna wear a gray sweatshirt today and keep it
Yep.
low key.
Yeah.
So, um, he's like, the bell rings and he says something at the end. He's like, no study guides, please. Read the man, not the blogger. And I didn't really understand this sentence when I watched this episode sort of drunk last week, but I really don't understand it here. Like, first of all, why no study guides? Like, why is having a study guide bad? But then read the man, not the blogger. Like, are in this world are cliff notes on blogs?
I'm assuming that it was a nod to, like, Cliff Notes.
Yeah, I just don't understand. So Arya comes up to the desk after class and she's like, I know who saw us. It was Noel. He was just being shitty and jealous because, he was hurt that I wasn't into him. And Ezra's tone in this scene is scary. This is like sometimes Ezra, you get when you get him and he's in a mood, like there is something very scary about him. And he's like, yeah, I get why he did it. Who else knows? Or he's like, yeah, I get why he did it. Who else knows? Like his delivery of this line. I was like, oh my God, like, why don't you just hit her? Like, why are you putting her through all this shit? Like, I'm sure she would be way happier if you just like fucking slap her across the face. And so he's worried that Noel's going to tell on him for being a pedophile, but Arya doesn't think so. She actually thinks that he might have known for a while. And if he was trying to hurt them, he would have said something a while back. And she's like, he promised he wouldn't say what he saw. And it's like, babe, like he already just weaponized this against you. Like, don't be too quick to believe this. And so Ezra is like, let's not talk about this here. And I wrote like LOL just because it is always surprising to me when they are so far into doing something they shouldn't do. And then Ezra has this like moment of like, oh, this is inappropriate. It's like, why now? Like the whole thing is inappropriate.
Yeah, it was fucking bananas that Arya decided to like stay back after class to be like, "Oh, hey, my other classmate knows that we're fucking." Like I would have been like, "Hey, I got to see you after school," or like something, but
Send a text.
yeah, I know. This whole fucking every time they do anything it's insane to me. And she was like way too comfortable with the idea that Noel Khan was gonna like keep their fucking secret.
Yeah, I mean, Arya is the kind of dummy though that would like write out a full confession in like by accident, like in some sort of other thing. Like she'd be like, Ezra Fitz, since we've been hooking up since last summer, a lot of people have taken note, including Noel Khan. Like, like he saw us
Yeah.
kissing in the woods. And then like drop the letter. Like that's what
Yep.
that's who she feels like to me. So
Yep.
Spencer's giving Emily a pep talk about dinner with Maya, and she's just like, just make sure that Maya doesn't do all the talking. And to which I wrote, yeesh, like because like she's basically just like Maya is like awful at conversations. So like just make sure you're jumping in there. Or I didn't even know, maybe that could even be a commentary on how Emily's just so like passive. But yeah, she's like, if she starts going over a cliff, grab the wheel. Um,
Uh, it's good advice because Maya really does say some like super out of pocket shit.
like if I were the girls, I'd be like, Emily, I'm glad you're gay and I'm glad you're happy. Here's the thing, you got to lose this chick because she has no like common sense or manners and she's going to make your life a living hell.
Mm-hmm.
So then Mona comes like calling down the hallway and she's like, Spencer, Emily, hold up. She's like, so I found out Hannah's mom is going to be out of town for some bank thing and I want to throw Hannah a surprise party. So she knows that, we love her with or without her spleen. And Emily's like, Maya, they didn't take out her spleen. And like this is a classic Emily, like, is she in pain type moment? Because like the faces Shay Mitchell makes is so like reflective of how little she's been given to do. But like
Mm-hmm.
she just is like, yeah, it's kind of like a meme, I think, at this point where Emily just like stares and like sort of looks like slightly like in pain all the time.
It's that like, yeah, it's that like her eyes go like kind of blank and her jaw is like a slack jaw thing. I don't know. She always looks crazy.
Her face like looks square when
Yeah.
she's like doing her like Emily thinking thing. Like her face, like I don't know how else to describe it, but her face completely changes shape. And she does a thing where she like holds her head down, but then like looks her eyes up. Like, does that make sense? Like it looks like she's like looking,
100%.
it's like so distorted. So um Maya's like, okay, then I'll just change the theme. And so they're like, probably not the move. Basically, like Hannah's sick. She just got home from the hospital. But there's like not going to be anything stopping Mona. She's like, oh, please. She's been socializing with IV bags and like bedpans. And so she's like, you don't have to come though if you don't want. And Spencer and Emily both have stink faces on that are like nuts, where I'm like, can you get some like possession of the moment and be like, Mona, no. Like, we're her best friends. She's very sick. We just saw her yesterday. She's on painkillers. Like, I don't think she wants strangers at her house. Like, the answer is no. Like, it is wild to just assume that you should throw someone a surprise party at their house when they're infirmed and like bring alcohol and all these people. Like, just because her mom is at a banking event in Scranton.
If I ever get hit by a car by our stalker and my leg is broken and I'm in a wheelchair and you decide that that's the time to fill my house up with people, I swear to fucking God, I would be so mad at that situation, and I'll bring it up again when we actually like see the party starting, just how like vulnerable of a state Hannah is in with this fucking wheelchair and all of these people in her house. Like I would lose my mind.
Oh, well, it's beyond. I mean, like, yeah, it's beyond. So, um, Ezra's grading papers at his desk, like just looking like he always has this like pensive look, but it looks like he has the weight of the world on his shoulders. It's less that he's in thought and more that like he is like the president right after 9/11 happened. Like he gives he's giving war room. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So Noel like pops in to like confront him about his harshly graded paper. And he's like, I just want you to take a look at this again. You know, the comments are pretty harsh and I worked pretty hard on it. So I think that I should get a better grade. And Ezra's like, are like, if you're asking me to change your grade, the answer is no. And he's like, well, I think I know enough to make this happen. And Ezra keeps like shutting him down. And I'm like, Ezra, just give him whatever he wants. And Arya. Like, easy A. Like, it's the thing where am I supposed to believe that Ezra has so much integrity when it comes to teaching the English language, but also he's fucking his student? Like, there are people like that where it's like they'll live wildly, but when it comes to the subject of science, like they don't joke around or whatever. And it's like, okay, but like you're fucking it's like Jordan Peterson. It's like you're fucking reckless. Like, why do you act like this is something you care about? So Noel crosses out the C on his paper and puts an A on it. And the A that he draws has a little bit of a long tail on the, the line that's crossing it. And I'm not going to say that it looks dissimilar to the A.
Yeah, I said did he look a little too comfortable writing that A? Also, it was upside down and it was like flawlessly done. Like he's maybe had some practice writing an A before.
Yeah. Yeah. He knows his way around an A. So Ezra's thinking about like a little time has passed and he's in his classroom staring out the window, just like spiraling about what's happening in his life. And Arya comes in, completely unaware Arya. Like she just like she doesn't read the room at all. And she's like, oh, I'm gonna like pop into a party at Hannah's tonight and then I'll come over after that. And Ezra's like, oh, you're not coming over tonight. He's like, your friend Noel like paid me a visit. And like your friend Noel really made me uncomfortable to begin with because I think we can all agree that Noel is not a friend and that Arya doesn't want to be in this situation. And also, it's not her fault that he drove to a teenager's birthday party to meet up with his student and make out with her in the woods under
Yeah,
the
man.
guise of like wanting to have a talk.
And I just feel like any time, like, not that I can relate to this situation at all because I'm not a predator, but I feel like I've been in relationships before where it maybe doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but when you're alone and together, nothing else matters, like that kind of thing. But like the second that I would have to, like, say the words "your friend" to my girlfriend, and then that person was also a 16-year-old boy in my classroom, I would just like fucking kill myself. Like I don't know
No, I
how.
know, because it's like you don't understand the levity of this. And like when he's basically like your little friend, it's like, well, she's a little girl too. Like if you're
Right.
seeing him as some like little twerp, like it's like, babe, they're all twerps, they're children.
It's
Like,
like the
yeah.
same thing like a couple episodes ago when he was like making fun of him because he was like a football player or something. And it's like, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Like, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be off limits for the teachers to like roast the students because of their extracurricular activities and judge them for it and be like, oh, it's just a
Yeah.
stupid athlete. Like, that's like a teacher being like, who, that fucking band geek? Like, it's like, what?
I know.
It's
I know.
it's like enrichment. That's what it is. So he's like, he's not the guy you think he is, and he doesn't know anything about keeping a secret. And it's like, well, it's not really a secret. You're breaking the law. So Arya wants to know what happened, but Ezra doesn't give it up. And suddenly we hear at the door, someone's like, Mr. Fitz. And like the way that Jenna says his name, it sounds like I was like literally expecting like like a secretary with like a gray bouffant and like a tight little like suit somehow. Like she just, it sounded like the voice came from anyone but Jenna. And she's like, sorry to interrupt. And so I guess she like needs his signature on something. But when she says sorry to interrupt, it's very chilling for Arya because she didn't know that Jenna knew she was there, because
Right.
they always assume like because Jenna's blind that she couldn't have a sense of what's going on around her. Like when she's said like hi to Hannah or whatever in the elevator, and it's like, dude, are you sure you don't smell like warm vanilla sugar Bath and Body Works, and like that's why she knew you were in there?
Yeah, exactly. They think that she's like deaf, dumb, and blind. It's like, no, she still can hear things. Like
Yeah.
she still is aware of people's existence. Like she just can't see you.
Have we already gotten to Hannah's? Jenna can't hear, she's blind. Did we
I
did
don't
we got into
think
that
so.
classic liner? Okay,
I don't think so.
so Alex is waiting for Spencer outside of the school. And again, there is something so mature about the way that she interacts with him in a way that's like, it feels like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce if like they were both delusional freaks. Do you know what
That
I
Spencer,
mean?
though, I feel like that's Spencer with like it's almost weird that Spencer dates when she's dating somebody like her own age because just all of her the way that she approaches not only all of her relationships, but I just feel like any encounter with like an adult male, there's like a weird like sexual or like flirty tension to it.
Yeah, it's random. Like I don't know what else to say except there's something that feels kind of random about it. So, um yeah, and also like very well, she's very wifey. Like
Yeah.
she sort of slips into this role where it's like, babe, you're in high school and you're dating this guy at the tennis club, which whether you realized or not, a small part of you is doing it to piss off your parents.
Right.
And like weaponizing the fact that this kid is from a different economic class than you. But he's holding a flyer for a Swedish tennis clinic. And he's like, she's like, why are you holding this? Just the way she like interacts with information fucking kills me. Because she's like, what are you holding? And it's like, bitch, a piece of paper. Like, you know what I mean? And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, I was asked to apply for it. And she's like, a lot of the people who go there wind up playing for the Swedish Open. And Spencer's like, oh my God, congratulations. And like, just sort of assumes that he's going to do it. And he's like, she's like, again, kissing him like his wife and like being like, I'll apply for an internship and maybe we can go together. And like, she's like talking about like sightseeing in Sweden and stuff. And it's like, it's not registering with her that like Alex is poor.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
what if this kid works like a fucking dog and like lives a very like sort of, I imagine he's from a pretty blue collar family based off of the way he talks about his situation, and the like just the assumption that he's going to be able to take the summer off when he works throughout the school year to go to a Swedish tennis clinic.
I
Like
didn't even know that he played tennis. I thought he just worked at a tennis club.
he was like a, I think he was a pro or whatever they call them, because like he didn't he like, well, he at least worked on the courts, but I think maybe he would do like practice and stuff like that with
Yeah.
people who belong. So he's like, it's not really on the table for me. And Spencer's like, she doesn't get it at first. She's like, but why wouldn't you seize this opportunity? And he's like, my uncle needs more bodies at his construction site. I'm like, the use of the word bodies here is so like appropriate because he knows his place in life. Do you know what I mean? He's like, it could be anybody, but my uncle needs to have billable hours for 35 people, and I'm one of them.
He understands the plight of the working man and being a disposable employee, and that's something that Spencer could never.
Yeah. And so like he needs to work at his construction site, and he already promised that he would do that. And Spencer's like, but why would you turn down this opportunity in Sweden to go throw plaster into a dumpster all summer? That's insane. And Alex is like, maybe to you. I'm not interested in playing pro. I'd rather be working and saving for college. And Spencer's just like alarmed that Alex is not from money. Like this makes no sense, like no sense to her. And I think Spencer being blind to her privilege in this way, especially when she has had reactions on the show about, Alex being treated badly because he's poor. Um, it's like, do you know it or do you not know it? Do you know he's poor or do you not know?
Yeah, I think she understands like what you were saying, like the aspect of like she understands that it's something that she can like throw at her parents or something, but obviously she doesn't actually understand like this kid's life.
Yeah. It sounds like she's never asked him questions about,
I don't think she has.
like, she never comes to a situation more informed than she ever is. It's like every time they hang out, it feels like she's like picking up from exactly where they left off. Like the idea of them spending time on the phone or doing any sort of like normal teenage advancement in a relationship, it doesn't exist. So, let's take a little break if that's okay before we get to the dinner scene because I'm already being negative and I want to grab a drink. Is that
Yeah,
cool?
no problem. Yeah,
Okay,
it's fine.
be right back. Guys, I feel bad. I'm going to try to be a little more positive now. I mean, right
I
when we're
think
getting to the thing I hate the most, but yeah.
yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I don't have a lot of positive feelings about my part, so
Can we be haters then? Like, should we just commit to being haters? Like, is it, I don't know why I feel bad. I'm like, maybe this isn't pleasant to listen
I try
to.
really hard to like do like redeem all of the shitty people. I feel like in this series, like I try to really like play the fence. So I'm just gonna be an asshole this time around.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, like, we're kind of at a boiling point where it's like, this is why like, taking, like, especially the A and the B seasons, it was such a great way that they used to deliver the show to you because, like, you almost didn't realize how wonky what you were watching was. But now, like, I think because I'm older and the fact that we're spacing this out a little, which by the way, I think that I would be willing to up it to like 3 a month if um, well, I guess I should just say, like, I'll bury this halfway into the thing. I'm moving in like 10 days. So, like, I kind of feel like, and maybe this is a little bit of magical thinking, that like I will have more time when I move, but I don't want to do that thing where you like delude yourself about the meaning of a new place.
Right.
Like it's
Well,
possible that nothing will change in my life and I won't have more time the way that I've been imagining I will.
and I mean that's okay too, and we'll feel it out. If it feels like you've got time for an extra one, then we'll do it. And if some months it doesn't, then that's fine too.
You're a good person. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, but yeah, so Maya's at dinner and she's putting on a bizarre persona. Like, I understand what it's like when you're a casual person in a formal scenario, but like, there's this thing where she doesn't even know how to fake it. And it like comes across as so insincere and strange. And like, if the fields have a problem with her, it's probably not even because she's gay. It's probably because she's just like fucking whack. Like, there's something about her that feels like my mom would have like sometimes be like dialed in to like someone I went to school with and be like, I don't want you hanging out with them. Like there's something about them that just feels like I don't want you, and then like once in a while you get stuck doing a group project with them and like your parent would like relent a little bit, but it would also be like you knew not to get close to them because you guys would not be hanging out. Like I would feel like her parents would be like that. Like it's not that you're gay, it's that this chick is crazy.
Yeah, I feel like her her vibe is different from the other people in the show in the sense that like I don't think that she doesn't give me like a sinister vibe, but it's like particularly in scenarios like this, there's almost like a condescending nature to it where she's like, I'm gonna put on this display for you, but I'm gonna do it in like a disrespectful way, and I'm gonna let you know that I'm doing it disrespectfully. And it's like, what? This is not appealing to anybody.
Oh, is
And you're not
that what you think is happening? Is that I think she's trying her best. She's just awkward.
I think that she thinks that she is trying her best, but deep down inside, she's like, this is stupid and you all are stupid. And I don't want to have to like do this, but I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna let you know that I think it's dumb.
Yeah, like teenagers are not supposed to be healed. Like it's supposed to be pre most of your trauma, but there's something it's like one of the only words I can think of for her is like she seems like a person who needs to do a lot of healing. Um,
Yeah.
but she asked Mr. Fields, like she's like, "Where are you going to be stationed next?" And I'll almost say that the way she said it sounded to me like she wanted to send him away. And I'm like, he's your only ally here. Like, you got to get
You're
Pam to
only.
join the army. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Pam comes in and Emily's fucked herself because this morning she said that she doesn't have allergies. And what did Pammy do? She made some shrimp.
Hmm.
And she starts to put it down. Maya's like, no, thank you. No, I'm allergic to fish. I get hives. And Emily's like, oh, I forgot, sorry. And it's so tense, like I just can't imagine. I've met people like this who, and I feel like this is how John Mulaney sort of describes his family too, where he says like there's so much formality, and so we never really got to be a person around them. And I kind of feel like that's what is happening with Emily, where it's like the act has to be exhausting, you know?
Yeah, and I think that's what I mean when I'm talking about my like it's like she is putting on the act, but she knows that it's exhausting and she's letting you know that she knows it's exhausting.
I feel you. Okay. Yeah. So her dad asked Maya about her folks, and she's like, they met at a no nukes rally in Berkeley. After my brother and I came along, they got married and we moved to San Jose. And Mrs. Fields is like, she's also someone where it's like, girl, like fucking we have manners in society and we have to be polite. And she's
Especially
like,
to, like, kids.
especially to kids, like especially about their parents' choices. Like
Right.
this is not like Maya's fault. This is the only reality she knows. You're the adult. You should know that. Like you're openly homophobic to your daughter. Let's not act like you don't have some darkness in your life.
Well,
And
and it's not
she,
like Maya was like they met at a drug factory and I have 5 brothers from different like, they met they're peace activists who, like, fell in love and had kids and then got married, you know? It's not, like, that crazy.
yeah, because like she's like, so you were already here when your parents got married? And she's like, yep, I was the flower girl. Oh, I think they wanted to make sure it was real before they tied the knot. And she does this sort of like, you know what I mean, like self-assured nod,
Yeah,
as if Pam is gonna know what that like Pam's gonna they're finally speaking the same language. And it's like Mrs. Fields like 2 children wasn't real enough. And it's like, dude, you're so rude.
right.
Like, just call her family ghetto and move on because I know that's what you want to do.
That yeah,
Like,
that's, like that is exactly what she wants to do, but the story is not I mean, not that any story would be fitting of that attitude from Pam, but it's like it doesn't make any sense. But the story is, like, kind of endearing, you know?
it's kind of endearing. It like she also does a lot of like nonsense stuff in this thing too. Like her behavior's a little all over the place. Like, so you just asked Mr. Fields about when he's going to get stationed again, or he's being stationed next. And then you just are like, well, my parents like hate war.
Yeah, I know.
Like, girl, so Emily prompts Maya to tell them how her dad proposed to her mom. And like she is thrilled to share to the point where she's laughing at her own story before it starts, which is relatable if the story is funny. But
Mhm.
she's like, my dad proposed to her with a Sharpie. And then like when there's no reaction, she's like, meaning that he didn't have a ring, so he drew one on her. And I
But
know
did you
what
notice
oh go ahead.
sorry. Sorry, I just thought it was funny that she said, like, he proposed with a Sharpie. He drew it on her with a felt pen. Like, I like that she described what a Sharpie was as if that was the hang up.
Yeah, well, like she's I think what was written here, I understand what they were trying to do. I
Mhm.
just don't know that it's either Bianca Lawson wasn't able to step into the character enough, or there wasn't enough character there for her to make sense of it. Because what they're trying to say is that Maya's talking too much. Like they say nothing and she immediately like keeps going or clarifying. And every
Right.
time she does, she makes it worse. And so when she's like trying to do this like fill-in sentences, Emily's dad, like, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's uncomfortable. So Emily's dad laughs, but her mom is like, well, that is a very clever placeholder. And Maya's like, nope, that's the only one she's ever had. Once the ink wore off, she retraced it with a tattoo. And Mrs. Fields like looks horrified and just stands up from the table to check on the roast. Like no acknowledgement of something having just been said. Like it's the worst response you could give a person. Like it's so dismissive to like they finish a story and you just stand up. Like
Yeah,
that's
I
crazy.
know. It was also, like this was a weird move by Emily. This was, like, a bad assist. Emily had to have known the story, and Emily had to have known that that would be, like, a little bit too, like, quirky of a story for her parents to, like, really vibe with. I don't know why she encouraged that.
It's quirky. It's like a non-story. It's not like even like the top 5 things you should know about me type thing. Like,
Right.
like ask Maya about what her interests are. Be like, oh
Yeah.
Maya, tell them what's going on with blah blah blah. And
Tell
like,
them that you're in the band, but not in the marching band.
yes, exactly. So yeah, she's like, you know, very rude. And Mr. Fields like yells something to Mrs. Fields, where he's like, hey, baby, like our anniversary is coming up. I'm going to buy bulk on the felt tip markers. It's just some joke about that. He's like going with the punches. He knows how to be a person. And
Right.
Mrs. Fields doesn't laugh, but she does turn around to listen to him. And that's when she spots Emily and Maya playing footsie under the table. Emily's just barefoot, and Maya's wearing the ugliest fucking shoes I've ever seen. It's like these cheap black flats with like cutouts. And I know that she's trying to be more conservative, but it's just like, I don't believe the character would own that.
Yeah, I don't know where she got those shoes.
These were bought for an extra, and like now Maya's stuck wearing them as a character. So, this like makes Pam completely snap. And she goes into the pantry to find some like canned tomatoes. Like the way that they just have so many tomatoes is almost reminiscent of like the way that Ezra at one point later on the series will be like, I need a can of chickpeas. Like there's so many fucking tomatoes in this goddamn pantry that like I
Later
don't
on,
even know.
I yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
later on I referenced it as like the sauce pantry because it's just like she walked into like a fucking sauce warehouse.
I'm not surprised that Pam shops like she's raising six boys. Like that's of no surprise to me. But yeah, I it's also like tomatoes are a base ingredient usually. And
Right.
so I would imagine that she wouldn't really particularly need to, canned tomatoes at this juncture in cooking dinner. Did you notice also that when Maya passed on the appetizer, like she didn't offer her anything else?
Yeah, I thought that that was weird.
Yeah. So she like breaks, like she's like holding a can of crushed tomatoes and she just breaks and starts like weeping. Like you've never seen a person in so much pain. Like this is the type of cry that you would like someone who had a their favorite relative had died a day prior and they were in the process of planning the funeral. So like they're like they were walking through most of the day numb, but like if you catch them on an off moment, they're having an absolute meltdown privately in the bathroom. Like is she's crying real tears. And I understand that the sentiment could be here of like, okay, maybe in a way she is mourning the death of the daughter that she thought she was going to have, right? Like that's not uncommon for parents to struggle with when their kids come out is like, I thought you were going to be this and that. And, when I was when we were planning to have you or when I was carrying you, like these are the things that I wanted for you and you're not going to have those things anymore. I just like didn't imagine your life like this. At the same time, bitch, if you're so tender, you have no business hosting a dinner for a teenage lesbian.
You have no business. And also like I would just think given like the year that they've just had, I would think that she would have a little bit more perspective, given that like their next door neighbors just lost their daughter because she was murdered. And Emily was almost just like kidnapped by Toby at homecoming. Hannah was just run over by a maniac in a car. Like, so while I do understand that like notion of mourning the death of your child that maybe is turning into somebody that you didn't see them becoming or didn't know or maybe don't even want to know, but a little bit of perspective I think would do Pam a lot of favors here.
Yeah. Um, it's sort of a Reddit meme too that like Pam goes into like a closet essentially to cry.
Yeah.
Which I think sort of also brings back some of our theories of like she's so homophobic that that bitch has to be gay.
Hmm.
Like Pam definitely was bisexual in college and like carries it around like a shawl of like grief all the time that like she's embarrassed by and like feels like is like probably like fights so hard to have that not be a part of her past because she's so ashamed by it or something. Like it's like a secret only she knows, the way that she carries this through her life. It's like, dude, your husband is fine with this. Like when you guys were getting married, did you ever talk about like, oh, do you hate gay people? Like, I just feel like that would come up in a relationship.
Yeah, I would think so too. And I think that, I don't know, Mr. Fields, I think, seems to be a little bit more progressive. And maybe that's ironically like because of his background in the army, eventually everybody becomes family. You don't look at people like that. Pam,
Yeah.
Mr. Fields should sit Pam down for a moment.
Well, that's, I think, part of the problem with Pam, right? Is that she doesn't seem to have like friends. Like, I don't know who's
Right.
in Pam's life. You know what I mean? It's like all the other parents, like, we don't really know who's in their lives either, but it's not a stretch to believe that like Ashley's social and like gets out or whatever. Same with Ella and Byron. But like, I really think that Pam, when Emily goes to school, I think Pam stares at a white wall and doesn't move all day. Like I don't think that she has like normal wants or needs. I don't think she ever like goes to the McDonald's drive-through. Like she has it just feels like she doesn't have any lust for life.
Yeah, I feel like that, or I feel like maybe Pam suffers from like some serious like OCD, where instead of like staring at a blank wall all day, she's making sure that all of those fucking canned tomato labels are like faced the right way. Because if they're not, that means Mr. Fields is going to die at war and her daughter's going to be gay. Like that's what I think she's doing all day.
No, that is so on point. Like you're so right. Like I honestly do think no, it's like yeah, it's like the way that like Khloe Kardashian like uses OCD and it's like you don't understand, bitch. Like this is a crippling condition for some people. And like
Exactly.
this, yes, like I feel like Pam could be living with the ramifications of obsessive compulsive disorder. Like that
I think so.
absolutely sounds believable to me. No, you're
Yeah,
so right.
she's just so high strung that it's like that has to be the deal.
She's like probably all day when Emily's at school, she's like flipping a light switch on and off.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, no, my best friend from high school, God bless her, and I
Mhm.
actually talked about it with her like last time we spoke on the phone. Like we don't get to talk all the time by any means, like maybe once every few couple years we'll really like do a long catch up on the phone, but we live separate lives, you know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
last time I talked to her, I was like, "Jen, can I tell you like what I've been thinking about like so much about you?" And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Do you remember like we had a sleepover once at your house and you explained to me your routine at night?" And she was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "How you'd like go to your closet and you had to shut off the light switch 6 times before you went to bed and then like if it felt right you would go on but if it didn't feel right you would have to do it like 6 more times and then like you show like she
Mhm.
would like count all of her hair ties and like do this whole thing, right? And I was like, Jen, at the time, I thought you were just like being extra or something. And like, I was kind of laughing about it because I don't think you nor I realized that you had really bad OCD. And
Yeah,
she was
100.
like, yeah, it was stress. And I was like, that's what happens when you're she is speaking of tennis pros, like she was a full-time athlete. So like it was really she was under a lot of pressure.
Yep.
Um so Mona's over Hannah's house and Hannah's like, "Where are you going tonight?" And Maya's like, or no, sorry. Yeah, Mona's like, "What do you mean?" And Hannah's like, "Well, I didn't think you were like actually going to come here and like study math with me all night like you told my mom." And Mona's like, "I never said math. I said I would help you get up to speed. So can we talk about Claudia Rice?" And Hannah's like, "I don't know her." And Mona's like, "Yeah, you know her. Skinny, skinny jeans. Won't wear anything that's not tight enough to make her blood come out of her ears." And I like that Hannah is so moved on in her life from the person that she was when she was with Mona, that this person that they swore they hate like isn't even on her radar anymore. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and that's what I was saying kind of at the beginning. Like the person that she was at episode 1 compared to who she is at episode 12 is like a totally evolved human.
She's so past all that. Like to the point where like when Mona was going off in her hospital room too, like just like sort of this like unconscious like you look like shit, you know, like sort of thing. Um like I would sort of be like I need to end this friendship, but Hannah always wants to like lean into it. So she must be lonely. So Mona's like, wait a minute, something's outside. And she like walks towards it. And Hannah's like, please don't open the door. Like, if it is something bad, like, I don't want to know about it. And she does it anyway. And that's when a surprise party starts. Now, did you think that when Mona like thought she saw something outside, she was like, there's shadows out there. Like, do you think that that Hannah's initial fear was that it would be A?
Yeah, I think they're all constantly scared of some sort of predator.
So like Sean comes like walking out first, like, hey, and then like there's literally 30 people there. Music
It's
starts
nuts.
pumping out of nowhere. And it's like not normal teenage party music. It's like you'd think they were in their like 40s and like this was sort of like background music during a barbecue or something. It's like a very strange like sound alike or like vibe that they chose for this party. And then Noel Khan comes in, and I need to know what you thought about this entrance because I wrote here like there's something very like Kennedy about his teeth. Like you're looking at him and he's objectively handsome, right?
Hmm.
But there's something really menacing about the way he's smiling at Hannah and as as opposed to like being recognizing that like this is a predator and she's prey, I think Hannah's like falling in love with him actively when she sees him. But like he looks like Patrick Bateman or something. Like there is sort of like this politician vibe where it's like that guy would snap my neck or have some that guy would pay someone to snap my neck and move on with his life.
Yeah, yeah. There's the sinister charming aspect to it all where it's like either he's like a businessman, a politician, or a serial killer. And
Yeah.
he could be any of those or he could be all of those.
Yeah, it's very like white rich boy. I don't even know how else to say it. Which,
Yeah.
by the way, like on a day-to-day level, it offends me less to interface with a guy like that than with a guy like my enemies, Hank and John Green.
Um is Hank Green the guy online?
Yeah. Yeah, and his brother John Green is also a guy online, but he also wrote like The Fault in Our Stars.
Oh.
And they created VidCon and like I just find them to be like I hate like liberal arts white men.
That's fair. I don't really know them.
Where it's like, I want
Is
to talk about
does
science. Or
I
like,
was gonna say, is Hank Green like a science guy with cancer?
yeah, well, he's but I took a break from talking shit about him. But now he's in remission. Because I was like, I
Oh,
can't talk about someone who has cancer. And then when he went into remission, I was like,
that's fair game.
oh, the general public and I are celebrating your cancer remissions in very different ways. You know, like they're happy you're alive. I'm happy I can complain about you again. Like that's
Yeah, that no, that's fair.
you know, a little cancer definitely stopped me, but like I'm always ready to get on that haters list again.
Hmm.
So Hannah is like just in her like little wheelchair, which by the way is it's just yeah, it's vulnerable. Like you
It's
chose the right word.
vulnerable.
She's vulnerable. Like she's lower than everyone. Like she's literally got this big cast. Like she can't do anything to save her life right now. And
No,
like,
she can't do fucking anything. She keeps like bumping into shit, getting stuck on shit.
yes. So like Noel is walking through the kitchen like he owns the place. Like just like this great sense of self-assurance in everything he's doing. And Hannah's like, "Noel, can you like not go into the cabinets?" Because she's worried about the lasagna. But he's on a mission and he spots like some solo cups right next to lasagna. Okay. So Hannah has a flashback to a party she was having at her house before Allie died, which was a little surprising to me because remember we were supposed to believe that like Hannah was a fat nerd and no one liked her.
Yeah.
And like the idea of being like, oh, you were always kind of like the party house, like means like in my mind, I don't think the two things like exist in the same world.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that this party was at her house too. But I guess maybe that could be like there were like a few like nerdy kids in my high school who like had a random weekend open and then all of the cool kids like pretended to be their friends just so that they could have a party, you know?
Yeah, like there were people that were like more socially acceptable in our school because they had nice shit that other kids wanted to use.
Right.
Like looking back, I realize like so much of the core of the popular group at my high school was like they were just from money and had things that could be exploited.
And we're skinny.
Oh, and skinny for
Yeah.
sure. Good call. So Hannah flashes back to this party, and Noel is sitting at the kitchen table with this like such a forgettable girlfriend that it's crazy. And like there was like guys like that, right? Who would just have like you're the hottest guy in school and you're literally dating the most forgettable person I've ever met in my life. Like not a good personality, probably not a bad one either, but like it's not. So she's like looking at something on her phone in his lap, and then she like goes, "That's it. We're over, Noel." And like the way like the way that like this actress delivers the line, it's so perfect because it's like, damn, like I don't know anything about this bitch, but she's annoying. Like I don't know anything about her, but I know she's annoying.
I
So
literally can't even remember like if we ever saw her face.
we just
Or if
saw
it
the
was
side of her face, and then she stood up to say this to him, and like we just saw her back. So,
yeah, like I don't even think like she was like buried in her phone and then that was it. Like yeah.
but that's it. We're over, Noel. Like it was that on the nose of being like annoying chick number one.
Yep.
So he has no idea what the hell's happening, but then he spots Allie, who's standing there with the rest of the group, and he knows that Allie must be responsible for this. And Noel's like, I hope you're happy, and like storms out. So Emily's like, what just happened? And Allie goes, I just put Noel Khan back on the market. And Arya's like, how? You broke them up? And Allie's like, we broke them up. Aren't you still crushing on him, Arya? So can we talk about young Arya here?
Yeah.
Because I feel like, and maybe it's because I usually watch on my computer, there's something about young Arya that, like, when I try to remember her, like, I never really remember exactly what they did to Lucy Hale to make her look younger. I know the pink streaks, obviously,
Yeah.
but here she's has some like emo pigtails and like it also felt like she was very filtered, if that makes sense. Like the show's way to make everyone look younger was to just like filter them.
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like I feel like the other girls, their time when Allie was still alive compared to the time that they are now, like I can see the connection. But with Arya, she in all the flashbacks, she comes across as like so like immature or innocent or naive or something that I can't figure out how she got from that person to then a person that is in like a pub with a fake ID at 4:30 on a Tuesday fucking her English teacher.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
I
that
know.
bridge is missing for me with Arya, but with the other girls, it feels like Spencer has this whole thing where even in that past time, she was having the affair with Ren, having the affair with Ian. Like, Hannah has she was this vulnerable, nerdy, like, hefty chick who then, like, creates a whole other persona that makes sense for who she is now. Emily is nobody at any time. But Arya's just doesn't make any sense to me.
Is Hannah like in her fat suit in this one? In the flashback?
I don't think I really noticed. I was paying attention to Arya too much.
I didn't notice either. I did notice though, from like the far away shot where you can see the group, that
Yeah,
like all the girls had the worst fucking clothes I've ever seen in my life. Like
all of them.
Spencer and Emily both look like they raided a lost and found. And Arya has like a distinct style, but like, and Allie sort of dresses like a real housewife. Like she's in a tank
Ye
top with a statement necklace and like her hair's all like she has like Hollywood blowout curls.
yeah, she definitely does, and she's gonna come back in a flashback again at the end of the episode where she really does she looks like she's off the cast of, like, the Housewives of New Jersey or something.
Yeah, like she definitely looks like someone who stayed on Summer House too long. Like the way that they style her, and it's like, babe, this isn't cute anymore. Like you started when you're 25 and now you're 40. But yeah, so Allie's like, I don't like everyone's attitude. I did this one for Arya. I only kill when I need food or when I'm bored. And then Lucas comes up to Hannah. We're back in real time. Comes up to Hannah and he's hammered. Like, absolutely hammered. And like, I'm going to tell you right now, the way that he is drunk in this scene, I have no doubt that Lucas will have a substance problem as an adult.
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
he's that very like, sure, like he's a little too walking around blacked out, but like not scared enough the way that like I would think a high school student would be. Like I remember when I first started drinking, like just like this sense of like an impending dread. Like I was just like dreading it because I knew like I'm fucked up. I don't have my faculties about me. I'm out of control and I can't get off this ride like anytime soon. Like I'm not going to know how to act right. Like the first time I drank, I got fucking hammered and like went home and like I don't know how I thought I was going to get out of that one. But yeah, it was about as bad as it could have been. So Hannah's like, "Did you get my emails?" He's like, "Yep, got them." And like the way that he speaks in this whole scene, it's like Hannah, like he already knows exactly how Hannah's gonna structure her sentence and where it's gonna end because he is so like alarmingly quick when he answers her questions that he it's kind of wild. Do you know what I mean? It almost feels like that he read a script of what the lines are going to be. So
Both
on
of
top
their
of it.
both of their attitudes, I feel like, are strange in this scene. Like, Hannah is talking in a very, like, a high-pitched, like, almost like innocent or like clueless, but not clueless in like a typical Hannah way. But I don't know how to describe it. But both of their energies were just fucking strange.
Well, we know with Hannah that she likes to be friends with everybody, and that's
Right.
more important to her than like any other information. And I think that there is a discomfort when you've rejected someone, but you want to be friends with them, but
I think that's exactly that I think that's the vibe.
she's trying to like make up for the general weirdness by being extra friendly, but like
Yeah.
it's almost what got her there in the first place. Not that it's at all Hannah's fault that she's like that.
No, you're exactly right. That's definitely the vibe.
So everything he says in this scene, yeah, very strange. So she was thinking that maybe they could study together because she's so behind. And Lucas is like, I'm kind of done studying at the moment. Been there, done that. This semester, I plan on going from honor roll to toilet roll. And I was like, are you planning on shitting yourself? Like, I wouldn't know what he meant by that. I'm like, what are you going to get all the way down to the roll of the toilet paper?
This is when I also have no idea what the fuck that meant. I think I can like figure out what he was saying, but this is when I started to feel like everybody from here on out is kind of just talking like at each other, and they're not actually having like answers to questions that make a conversation make sense. It's all just like weird one-liners, and it's not just from Lucas because other characters I feel like are doing the same thing. It's so fucking strange.
Yeah, that's like an art in TV writing, I would say, is like the like making people seem and sing so that they're not like just talking at each other, like acknowledging what they're saying, but without it being like overly teleplayed. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
like I would say that this is, yeah, this is a struggle here. So Hannah's clearly like darked out by the way he's drinking and tells him to be careful with Mona's punch because it's strong. And he's like, essentially, he's like, relax, bitch. Like, I'm not driving and this isn't my first time. And he says, like, this isn't my first time to Margaritaville. And I'm like, that I know that he's supposed to be drunk and so we might be saying nonsense, but like, yeah, I mean, like, why wouldn't he say something like, "Oh, I'm going from top of the class to bottom of the gutter"? Like,
I know.
from honor roll to toilet roll. This isn't my first time to Margaritaville. Like,
Well, and I think it's like uh, probably a nod to like his intelligence and social awkwardness and whatever, but maybe he just didn't play it well. I don't know.
yeah, I think also it sounds like he probably spends too much time with his parents.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like Margaritaville. Like
Yeah, like
you're
he's
a 16-year-old boy. Why do you even know what Margaritaville is?
right. Like he's not making like topical references hi- to his peers. Like it doesn't land with the crowd that he's talking to.
So then Sean comes up and he's like, "Hey Hannah, do you know that like photo of us? We're like playing chicken at the lake." And like Hannah's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And Lucas is like, "Sure you do. You're Hannah and Sean. Me Tarzan. You Jane Austen." And then he like beats on his chest. What is the Jane Austen reference?
This is what I'm saying. It just is like people are just saying words that I can't figure out what sense they make. And again, like what I just said, I think this is just it's supposed to be a nod to like his intelligence, I guess, because other high school boys aren't referencing like Jane Austen, but he's referencing it in a way that doesn't make any sense to me. And I think he's supposed to be drunk, but it's just not acted very well, I don't think.
Yeah, like was Jane Austen known for having like a tight little package? Like what? Like like, what does this
Yeah.
mean? Like,
I
I don't know.
I don't know.
So Sean asks him if, he has a problem. He's like, "You got a problem?" Emily walks, then we cut to Emily's and she's walking Maya out. And I'm surprised by Emily in this scene. I learned to be like less surprised by Maya, but I'm a little surprised at Emily's choices here. So Maya's like, "Are you embarrassed by me? And sorry about the shrimp, but if I ate that, I would have blown up." And I was like, give her an opportunity to answer the "are you embarrassed by me"
Yeah.
question
Yeah.
before like launching into a thing about the shrimp. But I think that's just Maya. So Emily's like, "Stop. They liked you. Dad was definitely hooked, and Mom loved the dress." And like, by the way, that's not an exaggeration of her delivery. It's not like, "Stop. They liked you." It's like, "Stop. They liked you. Dad was definitely hooked." What do you mean your dad was hooked?
Yeah,
Like
I don't know. I don't
he's a
know.
like 45-year-old guy. What do you mean he's hooked on this teenage girl he just met? That's crazy. Like, like my dad definitely liked you. You know, my
Yeah.
mom mentioned your dress was cute or something. Like it could have been anything but what that was. And so Emily asks her if she wants to change before they go to Hannah's. And Maya's like, no, I'm gonna bail on that. I was so nervous about dinner that I barely slept last night. And I'm like,
Wait, I'm sorry. Can I just say something really quick
of
in that
course.
last part where Emily says that her dad was hooked and that her mom liked her dress, and then Maya responds with, "Wait until she sees the crease in my jeans." What the fuck did that mean?
Oh, because remember Arya said if you wear your jeans, make
Oh, to
sure they're
iron them.
ironed. Yeah, so
Okay.
like
Okay.
I imagine that she had gone and
I was
pleated
like,
her
is
jeans.
is Maya being like, wait till she sees like my like badonk or something? I was like, what the fuck is being talked about right now?
By the way, what do you think about the choice to serve fish at the lesbian daughters dinner? Like, did that feel on the nose for you? I felt like that's something they probably laughed about in the writers' room as like the most awkward and like on the nose thing and like low key fucking crazy misogynistic thing that Emily's mom could do. Like do you know what I mean? It's like the way she did it, it's almost like, well, what are lesbians like? Probably fish.
It's funny. I didn't think about it like that, but I did think about like maybe even though we didn't know about her like seafood allergy, like not everybody likes seafood, so maybe let's just go with something that's like a little bit more, I don't know, tame or like, I don't know, bland. Something that everybody like, pasta or some shit. Or
Yeah,
Pam,
like
I feel
whatever
like
happened to chicken?
right. I feel like Pam would do some bullshit that's like making like a traditional meal as like a test. You know what I mean? Like, oh, can she get down with like whatever our cultural food is? But Pam is, I wouldn't be surprised with what you're saying. There was some like ulterior motive behind the menu.
It is funny because I feel like when you're dating someone who lives a certain lifestyle, like with food or whatever, or if you're like, I feel like people do put you through a test where it's
Right.
like, instead of just having a normal dinner, I'm going to make you the most obnoxious vegan meal that you could possibly imagine. Like, you're going to suffer through this meal. Like, show
Well,
me you can eat a
and
tofu taco.
right. And I also kind of expected when Maya initially turned down the shrimp, I to create like more tension between her and Pam, I expected it to be like a I'm a vegetarian, like a moral thing, as opposed to something that like literally she can't help, because I felt like then there would be a little bit more for the writers to hang their hat on to create the dis-ease
Yes,
between
that would
the two
be
of them.
the dissies. Yeah. Um, but like that's the thing is like I agree that being like, oh, Maya's vegetarian, like considering the dad just was eating meat that he didn't know what animal it was from, like
Right.
that would make sense to be like, oh yeah, actually she's vegan. And that would be genuinely baffling to someone like Pam.
Right, and it
Like
would be
she wouldn't
something
know what
that's
to cook.
right, and it would be another example of Pam just being like, I cannot relate to this person, this situation, this thing that my daughter is doing. So I was surprised that it was something that was like out of Maya's hands, because it just seemed like a great opportunity to add more tension.
Yeah, like Eric and I never eat dinner together basically because like we both have like like he's keto, which I would say is a lifestyle. And I'm gluten free, which unfortunately does feel like a lifestyle as well. Like I spend my life wanting to eat everything with gluten and not being able to eat any of it. And so
Right.
like we just sort of skip meals altogether. And I know that that's kind of fucked because like everyone should go out and we eat dinner like on vacation and stuff, but like it's something that we just sort of independently handle because like I think we both also have like a disordered approach to how we do things. Like I'm coming over there with like a Tupperware the size of like four people's heads of salad to eat, and he's
Mhm.
like literally shoveling a factor meal in his mouth and like four bites. He eats food like like a mangy fucking street dog. And I tell him that I'm like, the way you eat is so insane to me. Like your selfishness around food knows no bounds. Like last night he was talking about his brother's pit bull and like how great the dog was. And I said, oh, I said, when next time you see him, like maybe he could teach you something about resource guarding.
There you
And
go.
he was like, what? And I was like, oh, you know, because like you've bitten my hand to get like a piece of popcorn before, like 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 the way that I have to eat like a fucking maniac to even have any food in this house, like that's what I mean. It's crazy. But we usually don't eat together. So like it is sort of a thing when you're convening around a situation with a new person, you might think dinner might not be the best thing.
Right.
So Emily's like, you were chill at school. What do you mean you stayed up all night? And Maya's like, well, one of us had to keep it together. You were one buckle short of a straight jacket, which is like sort of a like mature sentiment of like one of us had to keep it together from a
Right.
person who otherwise seemingly has no self-awareness. So I was like, that's interesting from Maya.
Yeah,
But
and also doesn't seem to be like a great teammate or like a great like deflector for their partner. Like she seems to consistently bring the heat to Emily. So
she's
this like
someone who has
sudden
needs.
yeah, this sudden thing where it's like, oh, I was looking out for like your comfort seems a little bit uh foreign for Maya.
But then at that moment, Emily leans in and they kiss, and right then, old Pammy comes out with some leftovers. And the way that she walks out there is like there's something painful about it. Like you would almost think that like she didn't expect the world to have color in it or something. Like
Yeah.
she looks like when they in a cartoon when they go from black and white to full color. Um like yeah, I think that Pam might have a problem with an internal dialogue.
I could see that.
So, yeah, like she sees them kissing and she's like, "Oh, I wrote in my notes, the way she walks out there is painful. This whole situation causes me so much pain and discomfort." Thanks, Molly. So, um yeah, she's like, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to make sure and give Maya some leftovers to bring home to her parents. And Maya's like, that is so sweet. Thank you. And she gives her a hug, and it's like awful. Like, it's just one of those hugs where one person is completely stiff and the other person is putting their entire body into it, which is a terrible hug to be on either side of.
I feel like Maya is always giving hugs that like last a little bit too long and they're long enough for Maya's face to fall to like a place of like comfort or something and it's like but it's uncomfortable for everybody.
Well, like, let's be honest. Like, if you just met someone, like, is it normal to hug them and find comfort in their shoulder? Like, if you meet someone and like feel like you want to hug at the end of it, it's probably going to be brief.
Yeah.
Unless you're both like hammered and just had the best Tinder date you've had in a long time. Like, I just don't see a reality in which you're like melting into someone's arm, especially,
No, you're like sorry, you go.
I was just saying, especially knowing this woman's a bigot.
Right. I feel like most hugs like that are not even a two-armed hug. You know what I mean? Like you're getting like one arm and make maybe like a little squeeze and then it's done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like a oh, nice to see ya type hug.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're gonna move on over to part two. Scoot, should we take a little break in between?
Sure.
Speaking of my insane salad, I feel like I need to go have a bite of one.
Do
But
it.
yeah, we'll be right back, guys. You won't be able to tell the difference, but I'll know. All right,
We will.
be right back. All right, guys. Well, we are already. I was said to someone, I was like, I'll respond to you at 11 p.m. I should definitely be done by then. And meanwhile, here we are. And Scoot is losing her voice, which is what I feel really bad about. But we're gonna keep powering through.
No matter what is happening, you and I are going to talk for about an hour and a half longer than we probably should.
I know.
I
But
love it though.
I know it is what it is. When does Peacock put up their episodes?
For VPR,
Yeah. Because maybe
um,
if I wait it out, or maybe it'll be on regular Spectrum on demand by the time we're done.
we're done. Yeah, I don't know. I think new on Peacock should be up tomorrow.
Yeah, they like release them at like 4 a.m. or something, which is like just do it at midnight, you fucking douches.
I know. I feel like on Hulu it's like 3 a.m. and that used to piss me off in college. But I don't know Peacock.
Yeah, like in college they were like on demand was so good about putting them up at exactly midnight that I just got spoiled, you know.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. You guys, I've been eating a salad over the last like day and a half because like it is crazy, these big salads. It's the ones that the Kardashians get. And I have like the
Fancy.
tuna one because I'm an adult
Hmm.
and I eat tuna now when it comes from people who make it, but except my mom. Well, I only like when I went with the health nut one because I was like, I feel like they know how to do a clean tuna salad. And it's really good. But like I'm telling you, like you guys are not far off when you're like, how the fuck did they eat all that salad? Because like I've been eating this thing for 2 days.
That's so funny.
Like I can't get into it fast enough. Okay, so let's get back to the show.
Okay. So we leave the weird scenario between Maya and Pam on the porch and we go back to the party and Alex and Spencer are sitting on the stairs and Spencer asks Alex if he wants to go away for the weekend. I guess like her parents have a house up in Buck County and Alex of course says yes. And they start smooching. But while they're smooching, Spencer, she gets like distracted and she notices Noel who's walking through the hallway. So she pulls away from Alex and then Alex obviously notices that like Spencer's face is weird, something's wrong. So he suggests that they go outside where it's a little bit less busy. And Spencer, she's like, "Yeah, you go outside and I'll meet you. I just have to run upstairs and go to the bathroom."
He'll be standing there all night.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, and so after Alex leaves, Spencer and Noel, they share like kind of an extended look with each other. And you can just tell that like the vibes are off between Noel and everybody else, like between the girls.
Like she knows that he knows that they know.
Right,
Type of
exactly.
thing. Yeah.
But nobody's actually saying anything to each other. It's just all in the air. Um, So right after Spencer goes upstairs, Arya walks in the front door, and Noel again greets her as if nothing that happened in the last episode or earlier in this episode has actually happened. Everybody's just like playing real cool, but not playing it very well. And
I do love that sort of power move it like when it's fun. Like
yeah,
I'll do that to like an ex-boyfriend is act like nothing bad has ever happened between us in our lives. Like a ex where it's like ended on bad terms. And I'll just like walk up and be like, hey, and like be like overly friendly to the point that it's disorienting to them. When
right.
Noel's doing it here, it's just he's making women uncomfortable for the sake of it.
Yeah, and I think the problem too is that like in your scenario, there's nothing like lingering it's just simply a power play on your end, but here there's something like lingering that eventually everybody is going to have to like discuss and figure out. So it's just like it's not like a hit it and quit it kind of thing. It's
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 menacing.
yeah. Um so Noah's like, "Oh, like where were you? We did like such a good surprise." I think Hannah like peed her pants when we surprised her, and Arya is just like not there for the small talk at all. She gets right to the point. And she tells Noel that he broke his promise of forgetting that he knows anything about Fitz and her, and he's not letting it go like he said that he would. And Noel decides to play dumb. So he's like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, "The whole thing where you like tried to blackmail our teacher into giving you a good grade at risk of being outed as like a fucking sexual predator." And
You're weaponizing this information about an old man that's assaulting me.
yeah, exactly. But Noel just continues to play dumb and he's like, "Blackmail? Is that what he said?" And Arya asks, "You didn't demand a better grade?" And Noel says that he didn't demand anything. All he did was ask Fitz to take a second look at his essay because he worked really hard and he thought that he deserved a better grade. And at this point, Arya kind of looks like she's like legitimately considering Noel's story here, which
Yep.
is a naivete that I feel like she should be above at this point. And
Not really. I mean, like, Ezra will like literally like cut her off and like leave town. And so like I don't hate that she's open to the like considering that maybe Ezra's narrative isn't the only one.
yeah, I guess that's a good point. I didn't really think about it in the way that she should be thinking about Ezra, more so that she should just be thinking about what Noel is saying,
Yeah, like
if
why
that
are you
if that
yeah.
makes sense.
Oh no, it makes total sense. Like don't don't like don't throw one person under the bus only to leave yourself vulnerable to the person you were trying to protect yourself from.
Right, right. Um so yeah, Noel's kind of in like a position of power here. And so it's almost like he's like really twisting the knife where he's like, wow, if that's the story that he's putting out there, then you really have to wonder who this guy is. And it definitely is a good attempt at a mind game, but what he what he doesn't know, or maybe what he does know, is that like Arya is playing in the big leagues of mind games here. So she kind of skips right past that and she asks Noel if there's something else going on. Like where he have some sort of like vendetta against her and her friends from the past? And he doesn't get the opportunity to answer this question because he gets called away to like watch a fucking, I don't know, probably what was the YouTube video of like the cat snowboarding from the past?
Oh yeah, something like that. Is that what they're like
It's
whatever.
something. There's like a video. Oh no, I think it's like a sports game on Sean's phone, or like a highlight from one of their football games or some dumb shit. Anyway,
I do think the writers do a good job of staying like somewhat true to like what could be in the minds of a teenager, but like then they'll do something like that where it's so like, how do you do, fellow kids? And it's
mhm.
like, girl, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I believe that like these are the kind of guys that would like be accidentally so antisocial that they're all crowded around a single YouTube video, but like at a party, but I don't know, you know.
Yeah, I do know. Um, so now we go back to Emily's house, and she is getting in her car to go to the party. But she notices that Toby is sitting on his porch. So she crosses the street and she like boldly, I feel like, asks him if Jenna told him that she was trying to reach him while he was still in jail. And Toby says no. So Emily tells him that she was, and she wants him to know that she wasn't the one that told the police that he was hiding behind a fucking tree at the church that night. Um, and at this point, you were talking about Emily's face going square before. We have to do something about Toby's hair. Did you clock this?
No, was it weird? I mean, he always has this sort of like messed up, like it's like giving like tomcat or wolf.
His hair right now looks like it just looks like he has like a fucking helmet on. It's like it just the way that it just borders his whole face, it makes him look like a square. Like you were saying
Like
about
a
Emily.
Lego head. Yeah. I mean, like Keegan Allen was born with like, it seems like a very luscious mane, but like
Yeah.
they are trying to do what was sort of like the hot, tortured boy haircut of the time.
Uh-huh.
And I think it does help his incredibly strong bone structure feel a little bit more soft and youthful. But yeah, no, I don't know.
No, his hair is getting to the point where it's we're goddamn ridiculous. We've got to do something. Um so Emily, she starts to walk away, and Toby asks like where she's going, and she tells him that there's a party at Hannah's house. And Toby's like, "Oh, lucky you, I can't leave my porch." And the camera pans down and we see that he has an ankle monitor on. And Toby's like, "It's okay that I can't leave my porch because I don't get invites anyway. All I get is death threats." And at this point, I was like, "I'm gonna send you a fucking death threat if you don't get a haircut, man." It was like really, it's really getting to me. Um, so once again, Emily starts to walk away, but um, she turns around and she asks Toby if he believes her. And he says, "That's what I asked you before the cops picked me up, and I never got an answer." And she like kind of shakes her head. She does one of her Emily faces, and she walks back to her car. And while she's getting back into her car, we see Toby's like aggressively fidgeting with his ankle monitor, trying to remove it. I don't know where he wants to go.
I have no idea either. I have no idea. Like, yeah, the congestion in this house is very apparent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's a congestion in this home right now, and you can really feel, even though we like joke about this house being like just inappropriately large, like you really feel the claustrophobia here somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. And you will later too. So we're back at Hannah's party. And her wheelchair is like stuck on a piece of pizza, which again is just like just speaks to how fucking vulnerable she is in this
Yeah,
wheelchair.
it's like sad. Like I don't think anyone should be over. Do you know what I mean? It's like bring like if they
No.
brought like a dog into that house, Hannah could die.
Yeah, I know, it's fucking crazy. Arya picks up this piece of pizza and she asks Hannah if it would be okay if she left a little bit early, like right now, which I liked because I felt like Arya just got there and I could relate to that. Like I've had 5 minutes of this and that's more than enough. But Hannah asks her where she's going. She's like to some hot faculty party, which is kind of funny. But Arya didn't think that it was funny at all. And she tells Hannah that her uh, this this all kind of came out of nowhere to me, but she's telling Hannah that like her and Ezra being together seems to bother Hannah. Um and she feels like Hannah is looking at her like differently. And Hannah actually acknowledges this by saying things are different now and that coming to a party like this must feel like babysitting, which I like didn't get those vibes up until this exact moment. Did you feel that way?
Wait, say that one more time.
Like Hannah, Arya's confronting Hannah about being like bothered by her relationship with Ezra, but it just seems like it came out of nowhere to me.
Yeah, it's very it's almost like Maya behavior
Yeah.
where it's like, dude, it's not about you right now. Like there's no reason to like make this interaction like more difficult. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it just seemed weird. Um And Arya's like, she's trying to reassure Hannah that, like, this isn't any different than it was before. She doesn't feel like she's babysitting or like she's at like some kids party. And then she expresses that she regrets telling the girls about Ezra, which, like, with all due respect, you didn't actually tell the girls about Ezra. It was kind of forced out of you. Um, but Hannah is like, no, the problem is that you should have told us a long time ago, like when it first started. And she's upset because she feels like deceived by Arya, because this whole time she thought that she was helping her get over a Viking boy, but in reality, like, she was banging their English teacher. And I get the sentiment here. Like, she's upset because they're supposed to be like besties and tell each other everything, but like, this is different. Like, she's fucking her teacher. She can't. I get why she didn't tell you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but Hannah is like, she just feels sad. Like, maybe their friendship isn't as strong as it should be or something. I don't know. Um, but so, like, Arya lets out a big sigh, and she says that at this point she feels like she's blown it with everybody.
Yeah. Well,
Which is
yeah.
like, I don't know. I like this feels like a problem that kind of came out of nowhere, and I don't really need it right now. And I don't think Arya needs it.
No. Uh,
So,
sorry, I just got briefly distracted. I apologize.
no, you're fine. Um so then Spencer goes outside and she meets Alex, who's like swinging on a swing, and she comes up behind him and like puts her arms around him, and she's apologizing that it took forever to get to the bathroom because Mona was doing her eyebrows in there. And Alex seems like he just seems unimpressed and pissed off at this point. And he tells Spencer that he's going to take off. And Spencer's like, why? Like, where are we going? And Alex says, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm going home. And he starts to walk away. And so while he's walking away, he stops and he turns and he says, you just couldn't resist, could you? And he's holding up his phone. And I thought it was going to be like an A message, but it's not. It's a email confirmation that his application to the tennis club in Sweden or whatever has been submitted electronically. And I think everybody's a little bit confused. Spencer seems confused until like she realizes that he thinks that she's the one that sent it in. And she insists that she's not, but Alex doesn't believe her because she's the only one that could turn it in, because
Well,
she's the only one that knew.
Alex doesn't believe her because he's right. Like, she didn't do it. But
Right.
let's be honest about what's happening here. This is the exact type of overstep that Spencer takes.
100%.
Like, and by the way, like, you meet so many people like this in life that insert themselves. Like, I'll never forget this girl, okay? One time I knew a guy who his wife had gotten into an argument with an old friend of hers and they weren't speaking. And it
Mhm.
seemed like it was nuclear, right? Like there was probably not going to be another reconnection between them. And he took it upon himself to email this friend to be like, hey, I know she can be like unreasonable sometimes. So, like, just so you know, like, you know, maybe things will get better. And I was like, and they told me that like as if I was going to be on their side. And I was like, that's completely fucking inappropriate. Like, I would kill you if you did something like that to me. And like, they were like, no, no, but it's like, and I'm like, no, there's like no reality in which you should be overstepping when someone said they clearly don't want something. You know what I mean? Like, that's just the kind of thing where it's like she feels like a bad partner in that way, where like He said no. He gave reasons why, and like I believe she would go behind their back rather than be empathetic.
Yeah, I agree, and it feels like something that she would do. She would do it like earnestly without understanding that it is like patronizing in a way where it's like he doesn't know. Like I know better. He should go and do it. All of these silly things like work at the construction site because that's how she views these things, you know?
Yeah, and like there are sometimes people who get stuck, you know what I mean, where it's like, hey, like I know things have always been this way, and if and like at this point you have to realize that like you can break free of this like sort of mindset or this pattern, and this is the opportunity to go for like if there was ever a time for you to like step into another reality or like maybe try and like change your life, like this could be it. There's like sometimes people need to do that, like break the pattern that they're stuck in because they'll never get out of it if they don't. This is not it. Like going to Sweden to be in like the Swedish Open, like is the Swedish Open some like prestigious event that I'm on? I mean, I know that when tennis things have opens after them that that's a big deal. But like, does anyone give a shit about the Swedish Open except for maybe Swedish people?
Yeah, I have no fucking idea. And I don't know like what the next step is after the Swedish Opens. Like how long can he chase this dream, I guess.
Well, yeah, like also like forcing someone, a working class person, into a life of professional athletics is like really not something they're gonna do. Like you've either been training for that your whole life or not. Like this is either like your way out of like a miserable situation or not. But like tennis is also racket sports are so fucking expensive, you know? Like it's really hard to pick up racket sports as a casual hobby.
Yeah, and that's what I didn't even know that he played fucking tennis. I thought he just worked at the club. Like
Dude,
how
I'm
long
so
has he
fucking
been
be
chasing this?
um I don't think he's chasing it. I think that he's probably really naturally good at tennis and like,
Yeah.
you know, probably got the job because like it allows him to play
Yeah.
and be around people who play, but like I don't think that there was ever any thought in his mind that this was be something he's pursuing professionally.
Right.
Um and if it was, he would be going for it.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I do wonder
uh,
what Alex thinks he's going to be when he grows up.
yeah, I don't know. A construction worker maybe?
Yeah, he feels like he knows his station in life in a bad way.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
keep
not that
going.
there's anything wrong with being a construction worker, but
No, there's literally
um,
not, but it's like I feel like he is maybe a little resigned to do grunt work.
well, and so that this larger conversation kind of enters their conversation at this point because Spencer continues to deny that she's the one that sent it in, and Alex is like, get real. And he tells her that they want different things in life, I guess, and she can't keep pretending like she's okay with that, because she's obviously not. And she starts to apologize again, but Alex cuts her off and he says, don't apologize for who you are and what you want. I'm not going to. And then he walks away, and Spencer has this confused look on her face, and she sits down on the swing. And at this point, her phone rings, and it's a text from A, and it reads point set match XOA. And I honestly, like, unless A is like up in that tree, I don't know how they had the time to write that in text and send it off, because it happens like fucking immediately.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. It's very like A's all over the place, man.
All over. So then we go back inside of like the party proper, and Sean he's schmoozing it up with the other party goers, and he's telling a story about like this time that he and Hannah hit the slopes. And at this point, like I hate Sean so much that I couldn't even really write about this like dumb hero story that he's telling to the other kids. But essentially he's saying that Hannah is like a fragile, cold girl and he needed to save her. And Lucas also is not impressed with this story from Sean. He's still standing in the kitchen in that same spot that we left him before. And he's talking to himself, but it's loud enough so that other people can hear it. And he calls Sean Hannah's trusty Saint Bernard. And then, like, kind of mimicking Sean, he says, "If you fall, I'll drag you back to the bus and get you drunk so I can lick your face." Which I did not. Lucas is. I don't understand anything that Lucas is trying to say this
Well,
whole
like
episode.
he's a dangerous person. Like, not
He's a
to pull a
fucking
quote
weirdo.
from Lala at the last year's reunion, but like he is a dangerous person. Like, we don't know what he's capable of yet, but like, if I had a teenage daughter, he's the type of person I would tell her to look out for.
He's fucking weird, man.
Yeah.
So Sean hears this and he's like, "What did you say?" And Lucas, he continues with this dog analogy. He's like, "So what if they're lousy guard dogs? They're big, they're goofy, and if you can get past the buckets of drool." Um, and at this point, Mona cuts him off. She's sitting on the couch and she's like, "I think Hermie the hermaphrodite needs a jumbo coffee." And again, it just felt like I don't know what anybody is saying right now. that
You're
that doesn't
right.
make
No,
any
you're
sense.
right. Well, it's like they're talking above each other. Like, too. Like, it's
Yeah,
not even that they're just talking at each other, because that definitely is a thing. They're also like talking above each other in a weird
like
way,
past
where
each
it's
other.
like,
Yeah,
yes, like it's just like, dude, like you guys are like, and I hate to like dog on a writer because like this probably is not in any way an easy show to write. Like I would think that this a lot of drama like involves sort of like advanced writing in some ways. You know what I mean? Like there's two types of drama shows and like one is a very daunting thing to write for and the other one's a little bit more like for a free form or like ABC family show, this is not an easy show to write. There's so many moving parts.
for
That
sure.
said, this does feel like part of union rules are that you have to let someone who isn't on the staff write a
Hmm.
script each season.
Hmm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the person who wrote this was either like a writer's assistant and Marlene King or like a staff writer and Marlene King. Like it feels like someone who's not super experienced might have written this.
Yeah, yeah, or like doesn't know like the nuances of this show and is just writing like bully teenage lines or something. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Lucas continues on and he says, "I mean, who doesn't want a big slobbering beast who can catch a ball in the end zone?" And at this point, Sean loses it and he like slides across the kitchen island and he says, "That's it." And he goes for Lucas. Like they're gonna like come to fisticuffs. And Mona gets like hyped up. She kind of like tries to start like a fight, fight, fight chant. And Hannah screams not to hit him. And at this point, Noel steps in and tells Sean to stop because it's like fighting a kid that needs a telethon, which I did think was funny. And poor Hannah, like in her fucking wheelchair, she's trying to keep control of the situation. Uh, and so she tells Lucas to go outside. She wants to talk to him outside. So then they go outside, and Hannah, she asks Lucas, like, did you come here to welcome me home or did you come here to pick a fight with Sean? And Lucas says that it's not his fault that some people are trapped between Neanderthals and Cro Magnon. Which again is one of those lines that it just feels like that's not gonna land with your contemporaries. Like he hangs out with his parents too much, like what you were saying before.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Hannah, like she always
By
tries
the
to be the
way, the
voice.
way he's yelling at her, just so people get a full picture of this, is insane.
It's insane.
Like,
Yeah.
no one should ever speak like this to you in your house. Like, no one should ever I wish a guy was there to pull him off of her in that
Yeah.
way. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And Hannah says, like, you're not mad at Sean. Like, you came here to get back at me. And Lucas kind of cuts her off. He says, "Breaking news, princess. Not everything is about you." And he's like super duper mad at this point. You can see it in his face, and yeah, like his tone is angry. And he's getting like more and more animated, and Hannah's um like they get into a conversation about like who cut off the relationship or the friendship or whatever, and he's like, "You people think that you can just push me around like I'm some kind of mop, and you're no different. You're no different from the rest of Allison's anointed. You let her march around and act like some 17th century torture squad, and considering what that bitch did to me, I should have done way worse to her." And Lucas goes quiet, and everything kind of goes quiet. And Hannah says, "What are you talking about? Like, what did you do to Allison?" And Lucas says, "Dying doesn't make you a saint, not when you spent all of junior high being a monster. Do you know what it's like to walk through this town every single day and look at some shrine to her?" And at this point, Hannah's connecting dots, and she asks him if it was him that destroyed the memorial. And Hannah, like, she has like tears in her eyes at this point. Like, this is like a very emotionally charged interaction. And
Well,
Lucas says,
it's very scary to think that like someone you've been buddying up to has been like actively working against you because of a weird grudge. Like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I've experienced before. I don't know if you have, but like when you realize like someone was aligning themselves with you because they hated you.
yeah, definitely. And I also think like Lucas is supposed to be this like nerdy kind of kid, and when you realize that somebody that you didn't expect is capable of like that level of rage, like that's scary too.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it's like he's gone mask off.
Right,
And
right.
she realizes that he's not just like the, nerd they used to call a hermaphrodite that she's kind of friendly with now.
Yeah, yeah. Um so yeah, like Hannah has tears in her eyes, and Lucas says, "You can call the cops. Tell them to meet me in my driveway. It'll take me 11 minutes to get home." And at this point, I wanted Spencer to pop up to tell us like how many steps it would take, because that seems to be Spencer's like niche. She always knows
Mhm.
how many steps away something is. So Lucas starts to walk away, and Hannah, she says that she's not going to call the cops, and she thinks that they can keep this between the two of them because he's been through enough. And he cuts her off and he says, "Please don't make me like you. It's too hard." And he walks away. So as he's walking away, Sean walks outside, and Sean looks pissed, and I kind of understand why, even though I fucking hate Sean. And he asks Hannah if Lucas is gone. And he rightfully, like you just said, points out that Hannah should not be alone with him because that kid is cracked.
He is.
um,
No, he's very disturbed. Like it's incel. You know what I mean? Like it's like this really antisocial sort of like she's my property. Like I was only nice to you because I thought I was gonna get something here. Like,
yeah, no, it's very creepy behavior.
hmm.
Um, so Hannah says, again, this is just, I feel like I just don't understand. Hannah says, "Well, anyone can surprise you." And Sean asks her, like, "Who are you talking about?" And she turns and she looks into the window, and she can see Noel standing in her kitchen. And so she asks Sean, "You and Noel are best buds, right? How well do you really know him?" And Sean seems to be like annoyed by this question. And he thinks that because he made a comment about Lucas, now Hannah wants to like kind of turn it around and talk shit about one of his friends. But you can tell Hannah's like very serious in her face, um, and in her words too. And she says that everybody has a life that nobody else knows about. And she says, "Who is Noel when he's not with you?" And Sean's like, "You're freaking me out, girl. Like, what the fuck's going on here?"
Yeah.
And He's like, "Just come inside and have some fun." And Hannah's like, she's just not in the mood. She asks Sean to tell everybody to go home. So
Is this because she's attracted to Noel?
I think she's afraid of Noel.
Yeah, but like,
Noel,
why'd she
she
look at
thinks
him like
that
he was so hot when he walked in?
um I don't know,
I
but
think
like
there's a,
she
I don't know. I kind of always thought there was a weird thing where it's like she knows that she shouldn't be attracted to him, but she is.
I mean, that would make sense for this show, that's for sure.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
also, like, she at this point, she thinks or she knows that Noel is the one that fucking hit her with a car, and now he's, like, standing in her kitchen, like, rubbing elbows.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I don't know. Um, but we go back inside, and Arya and Spencer are sitting on the stairs. Those stairs are, like, a real fucking hot spot at this party for some reason.
No, there's like three things in this house, and like the stairs are one of them. I guess like they do make a thing of stairs though. Like Spencer's staircase is like a big thing on the
Is a
show
thing.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, So Arya, she's telling Spencer that like she needs to call Alex, and Spencer, she says that she can't make this right with Alex without telling him about A, and she half jokingly kind of says like maybe I should go into the kitchen and ask A to put down the piece of pizza and call Alex himself, and she's referencing Noel at that point. And Arya points out that they don't know for sure that Noel is A. Um, and she also says that at this point, she's not even really sure what A wants. And Spencer responds by asking her if she knows what happens when you put four lobsters in a tank and cut off their food supply.
Yeah.
And Arya says, yeah, they start to eat each other. Which,
Like, is
like,
that a
again,
common lobster fact?
I don't like I feel like I know about lobster stuff, like given the nature of my job and where I live, and like I am not familiar with this lobster
This was
analogy.
no, this episode was written by like crabs in a bucket, like etc. Like that's like something more like I could see a high schooler referencing. Or
Fish
like
in a
dog eat
barrel.
dog or what fucking you know what I mean? Like there's other animal analogies that make more sense here, but like the way Spencer's like, you know what happens? Like it's like something about like they sound like all fucking like drunk townies. Like you know what I
And,
mean?
like
Like there's an oddness to it.
I don't even like, do lobsters start to eat each other? I mean, I would imagine so because 'cause they're animals, but, like, it's not like lobsters are, like, going up and taking a bite out of you, like, their teeth aren't like that, y'all got shells on. I just was just another example of, like, I don't know what the fuck anybody is talking about in this episode.
Well, like what's interesting, I'm gonna look up the writer really quick because sometimes you'll look something like this up and then like randomly it will be someone who has written also the best episodes of the show.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Yeah.
So, yeah, like after the lobster talk, Noel walks up and he asks if he can get past them to go to the bathroom. And this just seems like kind of like I don't even think really Noel has to pee. I think at this point he's playing like power play mind games. Um, and so after he walks past them, Arya asks Spencer if they find out if Noel is A, like what are they prepared to do about it? Which is actually a good question and, like, more forward thinking than
This is
these
like
girls
the
usually are.
smartest thing anyone
Yeah.
has said.
Yeah,
Like,
like, maybe let's, like, be, like, proactive instead of reactive.
yeah. No, this is the smartest thing anyone has said. And I, yes, I mean, like, that's the truth, is because I wouldn't put it past these girls to have the information sitting in the palm of their hand and be like, well,
I
I don't
don't
know what
know.
to do with this. Like, you know, like it's like they do feel like a group of people who would hunt for the truth and not realize the point of getting the truth. Really quickly, so this was written by Sarah Shepard, along with Marlene and Oliver Goldstick. And Oliver Goldstick is like probably like outside of Marlene, obviously, like the most prominent writer on the show. Sarah Shepard had prior to this, she had done um a basically like a web video and then also had written an episode of The Lying Game, which I believe was like a short-lived series that was also yeah, it's a short-lived series that was also an alloy production, which like that's who like wrote or produced like the first four books for Pretty Little Liars. And I think they also did like Gossip Girl and like a few other ones where like the whole tea on like the way that they would write things is they would just acquire or have things written for them that were with the intention of them becoming web series or TV shows or whatever.
Okay, interesting. I feel like I've seen Sarah Shepard's like name in the credits before.
Yeah, it does feel familiar when you hear it. And she's stayed with the show. Like she's doing like the professionalists and all that stuff now. Is that what they call them? The perfectionists.
The professionals.
I don't know what
Did
it
you
is.
are you a POL truther? Have you watched any of those?
I'm a purist.
A
Like,
purist. That's what
even when I
that's
was, no, I am a truther as well, but like, I'm a purist in that, like, I really just stick to this original series. Like, even when they did like Ravenswood or whatever it was, like, I tried to give it a chance because I was just so sucked into this world and like was just wanted to mainline more. But like, that show was just like such bullshit and felt like a really bizarre, like, youthful take on American Horror Story.
mm. Yeah,
So,
I never watched any of like the sideshow
I mean,
projects.
to quote Ethan Slater, like love and care. Like, I don't think that like the way that the series ended felt not so much haphazard to me, but like they just needed to find something for all of this mystery to have made sense. And I think it's safe to say, or fair to say rather, that like I don't have a ton of faith that the writing of the actual plot itself has significantly improved.
Yeah, I felt like by the time it all ended, I was, for better or for worse, I was kind of done with it. Like it wasn't. It's not like it was all wrapped up like nice and neat with a bow, but the wrapping was there enough for me that I was like, I don't need to go any further.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Um,
wrapped.
yeah, yeah, it's done for me. So anyway, oh sorry, are you done with the writer?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. So we're back at Toby's, and he is still on the porch, just like fucking hammering away at this ankle monitor, which I don't know what he thinks is gonna happen once he gets it off, because like they know once
Right
it's
away. They probably know that he's fucking hitting it.
yeah, yeah,
Like the
exactly.
whole point of these things is like they know if you fuck with it, they know if you're, they know what you're doing. And also, I've heard that those things cost a lot of money. Like if you fuck with it
Oh,
or
I'm
take it
sure.
off, like you also have to pay like $5,000 or something.
Yeah, I'm sure. So yeah, I don't know what his fucking plan is here, but he is at this point literally just fucking hammering away at this thing. And at this point, Jenna walks outside and she asks, she's like, "Are you hungry?" And she sits down next to him. And Toby asks her why she didn't tell him that Emily was trying to get a hold of him. And she responds with, like, "Why would I tell you?" And Toby's like, "Emily wasn't the one that turned me into the police." And Jenna says that she knows because Jenna is the one that turned him in.
I like of
And
course she did.
yeah, of course she did. And I kind of get, I don't think that this is the reason for it, but the reason that she gives makes some sense to me because she says that he can't prove himself to be innocent if he's out running around like a fugitive, which again, I'm like, that makes sense to me. Like, the cover up is worse than the crime kind of thing. Like, doing all of this other stuff is going to really hurt you trying to make your case here. I don't think that was truly her motive. Um, but it's a good excuse, I guess.
Yeah.
So she says that, and then she starts to like get close to him and she starts to rub his leg, and she looks like she's gonna go in for a kiss. And at this point she's holding his face and she says, "You needed to be home where you're safe." And Toby grabs her hand and he says, "You could chain me to this porch and I would still never touch you like that again." And I was like, "Oh my God."
I would be like so embarrassed. Like, this is like the way Jenna gets angry at him is like a classic case of like someone who has been avoiding the truth, like
Mhm.
having it pushed in their face and being so uncomfortable by it that they snap instead of ever doing anything to fix their behavior.
Yeah, and she does snap because she slaps him in the face and she says, "Who do you think you're talking to?" And at this point, she gets up and she walks away. But I was like so uncomfortable with, with what Toby said.
Well, why? When he
I
said like
just
you're
like,
not gonna rape me anymore
yes, yes, that made me very uncomfortable.
for him or like with the way that he said it.
For him and for me as a viewer of the show, like it was just because it's something that has been like kind of like danced around this whole time, but then for him to be like a prisoner in his home with like his rapist that has now been confronted,
Who, by
it
the
was
way,
just,
is like blind now. Like, it is crazy to think about a blind person being like, oh, I'm going to make you do this. It's like,
yeah.
dog, you're blind. Like, he could literally, if she had headphones on, he could sneak up behind her and throw a wire around her neck. And, like, and I'm not advocating for killing disabled people by any means. I don't ever want that to get mistaken. But like it is kind of crazy to think like that's how scary Jenna is that she's like not at her full capacity and she's still like you're going to go along with my plan.
Well, and just because she's a disabled person doesn't like negate the fact that she's a fucking predator as well. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be him eliminating a disabled person. It would be him like eliminating his
No, I
rapist.
mean, when I was saying like, oh, he could like sneak up behind her and murder her, it's like I'm not
Right.
trying to exploit the
Right.
vulnerabilities of people that like
No,
are
I
missing
get
one of
it.
their five senses. I'm just saying that, like, yeah,
Yeah, no, the whole thing. It was just, and I also feel like, I don't know, just the way that it was laid out like so blatantly. I think because it's been danced around so much and because we have this like kind of weird like romanticized view of Arya and Ezra, just like the rawness of that statement was like a little jarring to me.
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with
Um,
that.
so we go back to Hannah's house and like this poor fucking chick, she's now home alone, trying to clean up the mess like from this ripper that her friend threw for her while she's confined to this wheelchair. And she hears a noise. She's in the kitchen. She hears like a noise either upstairs or in the living room or something, and she goes to investigate
Oh,
what she heard.
God.
And it starts to get like it starts to get pretty spooky. Like I was sitting in my living room with all the lights off and it was dark out, and I started to like feel like a little bit spooked out. Um, so
Well,
she's
like this
hearing
is just
noises.
again, once again, where it's like she's in an insanely vulnerable position.
Right, exactly. Like she can't get up and like run away.
No,
So
I'm
yeah, she's
surprised
hearing
Ashley would like leave her at night.
I right, and this what is this day 1 of her being home from the hospital?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So Yeah, she's hearing noises and she's like seeing shadows, and her fucking wheelchair keeps getting like stuck on shit, and um she's like starting to have like a legitimate panic attack, and it almost looks like she's about to like faint or something. And just as it's like really peaking, Ashley walks into the kitchen and she flips the lights on, and she's like, what happened in here? um and she's like, did you have a party? And Hannah tells her that Mona invited people over without Hannah's knowledge, and Ashley immediately goes to the cupboard, and she discovers that the money that was being hidden within the lasagna is now missing.
Is that what she discovered? Because I thought she just looked into it and that she makes a face, and I thought the reveal might be in the next episode that the lasagna money somehow made it through the rain.
Well, so we get the A tag where
Oh my God, I fucking missed it. Again,
the A
like I
tag.
forgot to watch the A tag. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, so then just buckle up because I'm gonna take you for a ride. Um, yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, I don't. It's not like they show an empty lasagna box, but like, it's implied that that money is now missing. Um,
Which, like, Ashley, now that everyone knows, like, go put it in the fucking safety to, like, go put it in your safe in your room or something. Like,
well, it's not there.
I know, but like after Hannah had found it, like, why are we still keeping this thing in the loose lasagna box?
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. Why the fuck is it in the kitchen? Like, why is it in like a communal space? Even though it's just the two of them, like, still Hannah has friends, obviously. It should be it should be up. Also, Hannah can't even fucking go upstairs right now. So so put it
Yeah.
upstairs. You can lay it out on your bed flat. Hannah can't go upstairs.
Put it under your mattress. Like, do whatever. But like, the idea that like it's like the kind of idiocy you would expect from a college student, where it's
Right.
like, well, that was an expensive lesson, but you learned, you know?
One time I lost my passport for like 3 years because I had a party, and I used to like stand up on tables. Not like in a weird way. Like in my room, I had
No,
like a
I
table
know.
that I didn't want to stand up on. And I put my passport for some reason in the tapestry on my ceiling and
Uh-huh.
completely forgot about it. And then like needed my passport, had to go and get a new passport, blah blah blah. And like 3 years later, the thumbtack fell down. A bunch of shit fell out from the tapestry, and one of those things was my passport.
Mm,
A
yeah.
really, really crazy scenario. So Ashley, yeah, there's other places that she could put.
There's no way Ashley could have anticipated a party happening in her house that night, which is why it's like so fucked of Mona. But there's like, yeah, no, I don't know. Like, it's just
No,
like, why is this like in a loose Barilla lasagna box? Like,
I guess this is like it's just like a 250K learning experience.
how are they gonna
So
live?
I don't fucking know. We'll find out. Um, we go back to the Fields house, and Pam is like folding a tablecloth or some shit, and she asks Emily how the party was. And Emily says it was just okay. Did we ever see Emily at this party?
No. In fact, I don't even know why they showed. Like, they should have either, like, one of them, Spencer and Emily knew that Mona was planning on doing this. And they
Yeah,
never told her, like, hey, just so you know, Mona mentioned something about inviting a bunch of people over to your house tonight. Like,
yeah. And where like are we? Here's my question: are we supposed to note the fact that we never saw Emily at this party, or did she just like somehow never make it to the set that day? Like, I don't understand why we had her leading up to the car saying she's going to the party, the conversation with her and Maya, and then this conversation afterwards, but we
yeah,
never saw her there.
It does feel like there maybe wouldn't have been a place for her to be like naturally in the scene because like what is she gonna do? Like sit with Spencer and Alex when they're sucking face on the steps or like
But in all honesty, when is there ever a place for
for
Emily?
Emily? Yeah, I know. I agree. She's like, well, truth. I mean, like, honestly, that's why I was like, you poor sack of shit when she was like, where did you get this stuffed panda? Because I was like, you know what I mean? I was like, get a life. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm so unrelentingly mean to Emily, but like, it's because I want better for her. And like, she brings out a side to me that reminds me of me in my early 20s, where I just had no like understanding for people that weren't making aggressive moves in their lives. And I was
Right.
just like, Pigeon, get the fuck off. Sorry. Pigeon, stop walking on the computer. Um, sorry. Like cats like to sit in squares.
Yeah, and your computer's like warm.
A square. It's like a square. I think she like sees it as a square to sit in. Stop it. Oh my God. Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so anyway, I don't know if we're supposed to note that Emily wasn't at this party, if it's supposed to be like something suspicious or whatever, but anyway, she wasn't at this fucking party. But she asks her mom like if her dad is sleeping, and um Pam informs her that her dad's commander called and he is wanted back in Texas by the end of the month. Again, not sure what that has to do with the question. Like, why he didn't go back to Texas tonight, so where is he? Is he sleeping because that
Pam's insufferable. Like she's only defined by like what she can mean to other people in a moment. You know what I mean? She
Yeah,
is like she's just inside like she's a loser in life. I hate to
she is.
say it.
So, Emily, after that weird thing about the dad, Emily builds up enough courage. And I don't mean that in a mean way or sarcastically. Like I think that this probably would take a little bit of like an internal
Oh,
pep talk, but
I think
to
it
tell
takes courage to even like look at Pam.
right, yeah, right. Um, but yeah, she builds up enough like confidence or courage or whatever, and I don't mean that like, in a mean way, to tell her mom that tonight's dinner meant a lot to her, and she thanks her, and she tells her that Maya had a great time, and Pam says your father thinks that she's very sweet, and Emily says she is, and I'm glad that you're okay with it. And Pam, in all of her selfishness, then tells Emily that she's not okay with it. And she says, the whole thing makes me sick, sick to my stomach. And then she walks away and she leaves Emily standing there, just like stunned. And as much as I wanted, like, we have shit to talk about Emily or whatever, like, this is really, really fucked up thing to say to your kid.
Knowing how Emily has like she walks through the world with so much compassion. And
Hmm.
part of it is that I really respect people that like literally are walk through life so thoughtful. Um
Hmm.
like I think this would be upsetting if this happened to any teenager, like you know what I mean? Like a teenager could literally like rob me and I would like hate them so much, but then like if I went to the police and the police station and the police told me that they spoke to them and their parents have been gay bashing them at home, like I would still feel fucking awful. You know what I mean? Like there's just one of those things where it's like it doesn't matter what you think of their personhood, like you'd feel bad about that. And then to take that and know that Emily is someone who literally walks through life on eggshells, like trying to please everyone, it's heartbreaking. It's
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
it was. And it just something about saying it makes me sick to my stomach is like it's just a level of I don't know, like to tell your daughter that like I'm not sure if I'm okay yet with your relationship with this girl or something is still wild in my opinion, but something that I could try to understand. But to tell your daughter who other than this, has done nothing wrong, and not that her relationship with Maya is wrong, but it, trying to put myself in Pam's
Well,
mindset.
it's like vintage.
Yeah, but like your daughter is an athlete, a pretty good student, a good friend, a good daughter, like all of these things. And for you to say that her relationship makes you sick to your stomach is like fucked up.
It's so fucked. And like the thing is that it's so like base and on the nose that like you almost are like, this is uncouth. Like there's no reason. Like the thing with Pam and like her as a mom and like like is her whole thing has been to just scare the shit out of Emily her entire life. And to the point where when Emily is around someone who might smoke weed or like knows a gay person, like her response to that, like the slightest infraction is like so like you just know that her primary parenting goal was to scare the shit out of her child so that she faced no adversity as a parent. Like she really thought that she could just create a person and they would become whoever she wanted if she like yelled at them hard enough.
Yeah, but and it's also like, what person did you want to create? Like, what do you want your daughter to be? Because it seems like you're not thrilled with, or like you don't approve of like anything that she's doing. You don't approve of the person that she loves. You don't approve of like her best friend because she has fucking like pink hair dye in. You like you don't.
Yeah,
It's
like it's shit like that. Like I think she's play. I think that in her mind, she is so divorced from humanity
yeah,
that she feels like she's playing dolls when she deals with people. And
yeah.
like Ari is not a perfect doll. The doll's been taken out of its box. It's had pink highlights put in its hair. You know, like how do Ella and Byron, like now that they've let her get pink streaks in her hair, how do they know she's not a criminal and having sex? Like she's so like yeah, she reminds me of quite literally, now that I'm gonna like extend this metaphor, she reminds me of someone who like buys a Barbie to keep it in the package.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't. Yeah, I think she wants her daughter to be a Barbie that stays in the package.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I just don't like there's this thing to her where it's like my daughter is acting like a human. Like, and
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, I mean, what did you pump out of your fucking pussy, dude? Like, you fucking baked her for like 9 months in your vagina, like, in your vagina.
yeah,
Like, you baked her for 9 months in like your body, and like, it never occurred to you that this thing that like came out of you and is walking and talking is like literally a person and could interact with any information they receive in life like a human being, including their own preferences, or it's not preferences, sorry, sexuality.
right. Right. And like before you got trapped in the fucking sauce pantry, like you were a person, like you remember being a fucking 15, 16-year-old girl, like how you were immune to all things. Like I don't understand. You should be able to relate to your daughter just on that basic level.
You know, this is the type of like generational trauma that could exist in a family where it's like, I don't lack, like, it's like where I'm like, you should not have procreated if you weren't prepared to break the cycle. You know, like
Yeah.
if you were raised to be like toxic and homophobic and condemning of people who are other, you should have chosen to like sit out. Or you needed to realize that that was wrong and make a radical change and like want better for your kid. But like she's definitely of that generation and definitely for them like of this mindset where it's like I suffered so you have to suffer too.
Yeah, the other thing is that I'm also a little bit surprised that she doesn't take more, not order, like more direction from Mr. Fields. You know what I mean? It feels like, given how traditional and conservative or whatever she is, I would think that she would take her cues from him, and he seems to be relatively like uh, chill or able able to come to terms with Emily, you know?
She does become more mild, I think, in later seasons, but it's like almost like as if her body is catching up to her mind. Do you know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
Pam gets cooler, that's why, but it's like she's just a not she's not a person. Like she doesn't have a job, she doesn't have any hobbies that we know of. She does like has a very plain home. Like I don't understand people like this. I just don't. And like this craziest thing is like you can't just blame this on it being a TV character. There's literally people like this and it's infuriating.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I like
Okay, yeah.
well it's like yeah. It's also like the I don't know how to say this, but like it's like she has a poor person mindset where it's like you are not rich in thought or experience or culture. Like you are devoid of like anything that is like your rights as an American. You know what I mean? Like it's very surprising to me when someone grows up in fucking America and like lives so like in such a sheltered way. Like your husband's literally fighting for the freedoms of this country and you don't even enjoy them.
I think I'm gonna bring it back to, I'm gonna attribute that to, I think she has serious OCD, and everything has to like be, has to fit into a place and be confined into a, like on a box, so that everything makes sense, because if things don't make sense, then everything is chaos and her husband's gonna die and you know what I mean? And so it's like she can't allow her mind to expand beyond the box that it's in, so that she can have control and make sense over her situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. 100%.
Pam, get
Um
help.
yeah, like literally get help immediately. Like cuz by the way, like that's the thing about Pam's life. I don't think she enjoys it in any way. Like I just don't like I just don't understand. Like if anyone could like use something in like anything in their life, it's Pam. I
Yeah.
can't imagine what a like I can't imagine what living that way would be like. Like, does Pam have anything wrong with her? You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of the thing where it's like, yeah, everything's wrong with you. But like, does she acknowledge her
Does she
sensitivities in this
know?
world or weaknesses? Like, it's like if Pam was like, Emily, I'm living with OCD. Like, it'd be like, okay, great. We get that everything's going to come through this slant. But like, instead, she just comes off as the most one dimensional fucking like IRL hater, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, she does. She needs help.
Emily, honestly, this would be impossible to explain to CPS, but I'd be like, you need to go interview that family. Like, there's something wrong there, you know? Like, Dee Dee
Yeah,
Blanchard over there.
get Pam some like Klonopin or something.
Yeah. But okay, sorry.
No. So, we go to Spencer's house, and she's walking into the kitchen, having just gotten home from the party, and her dad is like walking down the stairs, and so they greet each other in the kitchen, and we see like all of these boxes that are stacked in the living room, and Spencer acknowledges that Ian has a lot of stuff because all that shit is fucking Ian's, and Mr. Hastings, he agrees, and he's like, suddenly he's everywhere, isn't he? And he doesn't understand just how much that statement means to Spencer, given that Spencer was having
Wait,
like an affair.
somehow he's everywhere, isn't he? That's what it
Yeah,
was? Yeah.
su- suddenly he's everywhere.
Yeah. And why do you think that means something to Spencer?
Well,
particularly
I
relevant? Like A being everywhere? Like,
well, that I think there's some suspicion, but then also just, like, Spencer had this affair with him, and she thought that he was gone from her life, and now suddenly he's not just back
oh,
being her field hockey coach, but he's back, like, in her house marrying her fucking sister, like,
that was good
so
context. Okay, yeah, I forgot he was supposed to be her field hockey coach because, like, I don't even know if we'll ever get to see that, frankly. Like,
yeah, I'm not sure if that ever plays out, but, yeah, it's just, like, all of a sudden, this fucking guy's back, and he is deep in her life.
well,
Um,
yeah, quite literally, like, intruding on
yeah,
the entire family.
yeah, exactly. Um, but, like, Mr. Hastings, he's trying to remain hopeful, and, like, maybe this will inspire Melissa to finish her condo, which I, like, totally fucking forgot even existed, and I don't even know how she's still paying for, like, a condo that she's not living in, but whatever. And Spencer it says that she's probably never gonna leave because she loves the barn. Um, and Mr. Hastings says that Melissa, she kind of always needed a little bit of a nudge. And Veronica thinks that maybe Ian will be good for her because he's impulsive and he's passionate, which I don't know if I think would be good things for my daughter.
Well,
I don't know.
Melissa's like a stuck-up cunt. So,
Yeah.
like, and I think that, like, it's interesting how, like, for everything they're doing for Melissa right now and how Spencer thinks she's like this is very little sibling too, just as someone who doesn't have siblings and like has observed them throughout my entire life as an outsider. Like, this
Mhm.
is very little sibling for Spencer to not even realize that um while she's like sort of interrogating her mom on why she's not shitting on Melissa's marriage more. Like
Yeah.
her mom is shitting on Melissa. Like when she texts about the pictures of her honeymoon. So it's like, I think Spencer thinks that, like, yeah, I mean, I think Spencer thinks that Melissa's everything and she's nothing. But it's like, dude, they fucking dog on Melissa. And I don't think we ever hear them say anything as mean about Spencer as they do about Melissa.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying, but I could also understand, like, in particular, that one scenario where R Spencer and Ren get caught with each other, and the parents' response to that is to, like, take Melissa away on, like, a shopping vacation
Oh,
when it's
no, of
like
course, yeah.
I when it's like, how about, like, this adult man was, like, preying on your youngest daughter? And so it does feel at certain times like Spencer's the black sheep or something. I understand why she feels that way.
I do too. I mean, that's fair. I think that those are the things that would also matter to, like, a high schooler, where
Right,
it's like,
yeah.
but they take her on trips, whereas, like, honestly, like, as an adult, I'd be like, "Yeah, can you imagine how much that fucking sucked to go shopping with your parents?" Like,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
after,
I
like, your fiancé cheats on you with your younger sister, like, I'd kill myself.
Yeah, I know. I also just think it's, like, it's weird to say for Mr. Hastings to say that Veronica thinks that being impulsive and passionate is a good thing because everything about the Hastings family screams calculated and muted, you know what I mean? So it's like nothing about them I would think impulsive and passionate. Um, but I guess I don't know, it's good to get outside of your comfort zone or something.
Yeah.
Mr. Hastings, he does say that he would choose other words to describe Ian, but if he thinks about it too hard, he won't sleep at night. Which again is like, if that's how you feel, why the fuck would you want this guy to be married to your daughter?
Yeah.
It's crazy. Um, so he starts to walk upstairs, and then he stops to remember the important part, which is that he tells Spencer that he spoke to one of his buddies, like, that works in the police force or something, And the blood stain on the sweater that they found at Toby's house matches for Allison's blood, and that he doesn't think that Toby is going to be around for much longer to scare her. And Spencer, she asks her dad like if this means that the whole like saga is done with, and asks if they're going to be investigating anybody else. But she doesn't seem to be like relieved, and Mr. Hastings notes that, and he says that she thought that she would he thought that she would be like happier to hear that information. But so he goes upstairs, and at this point Spencer is looking over at like, you know, the fucking mountain of Ian's shit that's in their living room, and he has a bag of golf clubs there, and she notices that the tag on the bag is from Hilton Head, South Carolina, Fairways Resorts. And at this point, Spencer goes into a flashback. And so we see Allie, she's getting out of a cab, and she's telling the girls how much she missed all of them. And um, Arya asks why she's so tan, which she is very tan.
Mm-hmm.
This was the like Housewives of New Jersey comment that I made before.
Yes.
Because she's very, very tan, and her hair is like big, kind of like she got like a blowout or something.
Which is like so crazy because, like, girl, what? Like, when they were showing them in the, like, I feel bad because, like, I don't know what else to say except, like, she kind of must have just always had a very sophisticated or mature looking face and vibe or something. Because, like, when they were even went to the party, the way that Allie is like able, as a much younger person than all of them. Like Troyan's 19, Sasha's 14 in
I
this
think
season.
she's even younger. I think like in the pilot she's 12.
No, come
I'm
on.
like almost. I'm gonna look it up because I'm almost positive.
Let's save it for next episode because look it up. Tell me privately, but let's save the reveal for next episode as if everyone
Okay.
doesn't have Google at home. No,
Okay.
I want to know, but I just feel like we're going to talk about it for an hour. But like, what was how old is she? How old was she? Tell me. I'm ready.
Okay, wait, just hold on. I'm scrolling through.
There's like
Um,
no way that she was 12.
yes, Sasha was only 12 years old when she got the role of Allison and shot the pilot. She lied to the rest of the cast saying she was 14.
Okay. So like here's my theory. Like Lucy Hill was like 20, right?
It's something like that. Like Jenna is like 35 and Maya's like 40.
Um let me see. Okay, let me see. No, it's telling me the characters' ages. Come on, tell me like literally the fucking how old these people were.
Okay, you do the math. I'll keep talking.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you do the math.
Oh,
So
Shay
what?
was 23 when
Oh
they
my god.
shot this. Sasha was, oh, she was 23 when the pilot aired. Sasha was 13.
Oh my god. That's so young.
Someone in the comments is like, was Shay like grooming her? Like, it's like, shut the,
Oh my god, stop.
yeah. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Um, yeah, so anyway, Allie's like super duper tan, and Arya notes it, and Spencer also notes it. She's like, how are you so sun-kissed? And she's like, I thought that you were sitting in your grandmother's apartment who is bedridden in a cave. And Allie says, just because my grandmother was doesn't mean that I was too. And so then we learned that what I think this is the morning of the day that Allison goes missing, because Allison says that they have plans to hang in the barn tonight, and Hannah says that there's going to be like a major storm, and Allison's like, don't be like a fucking buzzkill. It's just a little storm. We're gonna party because it's like the last night of summer. Um, and we learned that Hannah stole a bottle of tequila, and so they're gonna rage in the barn tonight. And yeah, so Allie asks if the girls will help her with her bags, and so Spencer goes to pick up one of the bags from the trunk of the cab, and she notices that Hilton Head tag that we just saw on Ian's stuff, and she asks Allie about it, but Allie brushes it off, and she says she says that her grandmother had a day out and she's super into golf. And Allie tries to change the subject, but Spencer brings it back. And she says, "Isn't Hilton Head in South Carolina? Because I thought your grandmother lived in Georgia." And Allie says, "It's still the South." And I
It's
was like,
one of
"What?"
those things where she's like, she says like my granny has a place in that she, like we went for a day or something. And it's one of the few times on the show where like Allison genuinely gets caught because like the way she can lie is scary. Um, but here she's a bad liar.
Yeah, she's a bad liar, and it just doesn't like. Yeah, they're both in the South, but they're different fucking states. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So Allie, she teases that she can't spill every detail of it tonight. And that she'll tell them later. She's like, wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. And Spencer's brought back to reality by her dad reminding her to shut off the yard lights. So then we go back to Hannah's house where she and Ashley are trying to figure out like what the fuck they're gonna do about this missing money. And Hannah has her pills like laid out because she has a broken leg and a missing spleen, maybe. I'm not sure if that actually happened.
No, it
But
didn't.
she's like she's in pain or whatever. So she reaches for her pills. And Ashley's like, "Do any of those put you to sleep?" And Hannah says the pink one. She's like, like, "Do you have a spare? You have a spare sleeping pill for me?" And even still, even though Hannah is sharing her sleeping pills with her mom, this is still somehow the most normal uh, parent-child relationship on this
No,
show.
I love the two of them together. And it's not just because of my like familiarity with like the single mom, you know,
Yeah.
kid vibe, daughter vibe. But and I think it's one of the better portrayals of it. Like I fucking hate Gilmore Girls and find it like deeply insulting that like that's how, because it was very close to my life, they just did it all wrong. Like they just
Mhm.
did every part of it wrong, but like that is like, I had grandparents that were more established, but I had a mom who wasn't helped by them, and I was like an only child, a daughter, and like that like the vibe was exactly the same.
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I look at when I see Ashley like in these moments, I think that this is one of the better tellings of this type of story. And they have a like sweetness to them, you know?
Yeah, I think so too. And it just it feels a little bit more like even though the storyline is wild, like she's like allowing herself to be taken advantage of by this police officer and her daughter gets hit by a car and there's pills and whatever. It just feels more like organic or natural somehow. And maybe that's due to the
Well, because
acting. I don't
it's
know.
more like truly also like driven by obvious love,
Yeah.
where it's like there's, I think Arya is like the second most well loved child on this show. Emily
Yeah.
being the least. Allison's pretty bad fucking as well. But like the lengths that her family goes to for her ultimately wind up being insane. So no, I don't think anyone could ever argue that Allie was loved, but or wasn't loved. But yeah, I think that ultimately they show the much most appreciation for each other, and she would probably be the parents that I would choose to be raised by on the
Yeah,
show.
I think so too. Um yeah, and I think that there's a mutual respect there, I think, and there's a good balance between like a united front, but also a a parent and a daughter. do it well. And like here, like Ashley is pissed, obviously, that Hannah allowed a couple $100,000 to go missing from her house. But, she tells Hannah to take her medicine and she says that tomorrow is a new day and they're going to figure it out. Um, and when Hannah reaches for her pills, she notices that there's $100 bill rolled up in one of the pill bottles. And when she unrolls it, it's a note from A, and it says, "You'll get your money back if you do what I say. Sweet dreams, A." And then this is when we get the A tag. So the music turns into, I don't even know how to describe it, like a weird, maybe the music that we should have heard at the party scene, but it gets like real upbeat and energetic and like, bills, bills, bills. I'm gonna go and make money. Bills, bills,
Yeah,
bills.
yeah, yeah.
It's
I
like
will
it's so
say really
weird.
quickly about Ashley too. Another thing about
Oh,
them
sorry.
is that no, it's just wait, I need you to tell me the A tag again because I kind of got lost in my thought about Ashley and Hannah. Sorry, it's like a very bad habit I have to get to like briefly like fall apart on a thought, but like this is sorry. I'm like it's a little late too. I don't know if I'm mentally doing well, but I'm okay. Um what I was trying to say was that I also think that this is where I'll compliment the show, and I think they show it in this episode. The way that they write Hannah as like an only child, I think is really nice because they're the only people that all speak to each other without any pretense.
Mhm.
Like Spencer puts on a strange character when she's interacting with her family. Like Emily obviously like lives shrouded in secrecy and fear. Um and Arya like she feels like she probably has always walked on some eggshells. You know what I mean? But the way that Hannah kind of like shoots it straight. Like I think the thing they think is dumb about her is actually just sort of her being a go along to get along type person.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the difference is that all of the other girls seem to put a mask on when they get home, and Hannah has the unique, I'm gonna say luxury, but I don't think that's the right word, of taking her mask off when she gets home. Like they have a very honest, maybe almost too honest sometimes, and just respectful relationship with each other. And it 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 it's able to jump the boundary of parent daughter versus like what I was saying before, like united front pretty well. Whereas in the other families, it seems like that it gets inappropriate when the parents expect their kid to be more adult or they don't recognize what their kids are going through. But that doesn't really
No,
happen in the Marin household.
yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like, is like maybe it's just luck that this sort of is doesn't take an unfamiliar shape to my own life, but they like I was always 100% myself, maybe to a fault of being like open, loving, transparent with my mom, like 100% myself, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the rarity, because I feel like most people don't have the ability to be themselves
Oh,
at home,
no. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so I think that's why Hannah and Ashley's relationship comes across as like so strong and so like so much more admirable than the other parent kid relationships come across in the show, because all of the other ones I only have shit to talk about.
Yeah. No, I know. I know
So
that's right.
anyway, the music just turns like bumping, bills, 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 money, money, money. And we see somebody like in the black gloves that we become so familiar with, and they're just stuffing like $100 bills into like a ceramic, what's supposed to be like a piggy bank kind of thing. And I swear, I don't know how this many bills are fitting into this fucking thing, but stuff, stuff, stuff. And then they turn it around and it's not a piggy bank, but it's a clown. It's like a ceramic clown, and that's it.
Damn. So they have all the money.
They got all the money, and Hannah can get it back if she does what A says.
I know what it's gonna be.
I don't remember, which is fun.
It's bad. It's not so bad. It's like one of the things that will come up with some people on the Reddit when I've been just like barely reading it, and I'm not really sure of the median age there. I would think it would be people that were more like in their like 20s or 30s or like grew up watching it, but it seems to be like maybe making a resurgence with teens. But they always
Yeah.
like this what A does here. I'm gonna just text it to you and
Okay.
you'll know what I mean. And you guys get ready for this one because this is some like a one that I have um yeah, I've also had friends say like this was like maybe their most unforgettable moment from the show or the thing they loved the most
Oh,
because
I
it was
just got your
sick.
text
Yeah.
message.
Well, so
That
that
is sick.
this will be a good one because I also want to say that the strange thing on the next one is it's called Know Your Frenemies and it says when things look black, the liars get help from an unexpected source. And when is this supposed to say bleak or like do you say oh things are getting black? You say dark, right?
I've never said things are getting black.
Yeah. When things look black, I'm like, maybe they're in the dark. Like, I don't know what the hell. I don't know. Sometimes these people subscribe me. Like, there was another thing that subscribe me. Sorry, I'm not doing well. But there was a scene where, like, yeah, there was another scene here where it wasn't like the learnt thing, but it was like it was a very strange phrasing for a young person. Anyway, let's go through our little ranking, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So, sorry, my mind's like starting to fall apart because I didn't sleep well last night and
I
I'm
haven't slept for like 24 hours and it's 3:30
okay.
in the morning.
That's all right. We gotta go. Okay, so who's your episode winner?
Fuck, I always say this. Do you have one? Can you go first?
I would say Emily's dad.
That's so funny. I was just thinking that. Okay, why?
Because he's the only person that's like relieving tension or attempting to in Emily's situation. And everyone else in most of the people's lives, with the exception of Emily, seems so selfish and like there's quirks with everything and everyone. I would say Ashley would also be someone who's kind of redeemable in that sense, where like in a world that's crazy, they're bringing some hope and goodness to them. But yeah, so I kind of just think that because I think of Emily's situation being so scary for her and like someone doing that within the, four walls of her dining room, like that's big.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think there were a lot of fucking losers in this episode. So it was nice, even though he wasn't like very prominent in his stance on the whole thing, like it still existed. For the sake of having to pick somebody else, I am going to say Spencer simply because she was the only person in this episode that seemed to have any sort of like effect on the plot of the actual series, with her making the connection between the Hilton Head tag on Ian's bag and the Hilton Head tag on Allison's bag. Because other than that, this could have just been like a standalone episode in any fucking show. Like the plot wasn't advanced much at all, except for that move with Spencer. So I'm gonna say Spencer.
Or with Ezra too.
Yeah.
Well, no, like I mean, I think No, you're right. That like was a bigger picture plot thing. That's gonna
Well, and
come back a lot.
it didn't pay out in this episode, so it's hard to kind of like see what that's going to lead to, but at the very least she got like a ball rolling.
Yeah. So I was gonna say Spencer, but I'm gonna go with Maya just because like the fact that like
As your loser?
finally now you have snapped on Maya, you've been pretty diplomatic about. Like
I've been
I'm
trying.
like thankfully I feel so fucking vindicated by this. Appreciate you.
Was Maya's your loser? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I hate her. For
Yeah.
all the reasons above. Like I don't think I need to get into what my beef is more with her.
No, yeah,
Um Unforgettable scene. The lasagna.
yeah.
In a true unforgettable sense, the lasagna. With the second being Lucas's first drunk scene in the kitchen where he
Uh,
started to dark out.
yeah, I think that's good. I'm gonna go with Lucas's breakdown outside, where we learn that he is a person. Now we know that he is a person that is capable of a rage that would make him destroy like a public monument.
I mean, he was there that day when Wilden was harassing the fuck out of these four girls. And
Right.
Hannah is the one who's in deepest with Wilden, whether he realizes it or not. So, like, Lucas's actions put put Emily in a really dangerous place as well as Hannah.
Yeah.
And that just like what's makes me feel like he's horny for her and is an incel.
Yeah, he's horny for her in a way that could manifest in a very like sinister way.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, okay, unforgettable scene. I'll go first this time. Um, oh, we did unforgettable scene. What
Yeah.
was weird? Sorry. Spencer's hat.
Spencer's hat was fucking weird.
It like compare like done with the outfit the way it was, that hat was sinful. Like, first of all, it's just like I don't understand. It's like a little cap that like covers slightly one of the ears. And like I could see that in like if she had that on in black or something, but like this strange little maroon hat. I'm like, that's one and done. As are all of their clothes, but I hate it when it's like there's no way that like that's getting worn more than once. And it
Yeah,
like
it was a bad look. It didn't work.
didn't work. The little
Um
vest, like the little vest was so cheap. It looked like a children's suit vest.
no, yeah, I hated it. Um my what was weird is when Toby said you could chain me to this porch, but I'll never touch you like that again.
Mm-hmm.
That was weird as fuck. It made me uncomfortable. I don't like any of it.
I agree. Okay, so who's your A prediction for this episode? So I am truly stumped by this one because like they did this on purpose. One, it's like almost so obvious that it's Noel Khan that like if he was no like if he was A, like it would be way too early in the show to be doing all this. Like anyone who's like being called A for a very long time is almost certainly not going to be A.
Right.
Um, Anne and Melissa are on their honeymoon. So they're out of town and you would think like, okay, so they don't have their normal spies. Like if it was them being a spy tag team, sure. Um, at this point, I'm thinking like the only thing that feels acceptable in this is like maybe Lucas. But I don't think A would lose their like that's the thing that's a like A is not capable of all the stuff that A has already done and a and isn't like they're a smart person. Like they're not getting drunk like this and screaming confessions or whatever. Like A is pretty sober, I would say.
Making like fucking like Saint Bernard and Jane Austen analogies that make no fucking sense.
Like if A takes a night off, they're mining Bitcoin.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, like they have like a side hustle as like working as like anonymous or something.
Yes. Oh yeah, they're definitely like an anonymous where they're like totally righteous and do all the right things, but then they have that sick side to them where they're like, maybe I should use my skills to also hunt a bunch of 15-year-old girls.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
so
My A, I feel like at this point I am pretty comfortable with the idea that A is not one person but multiple people. And I feel like this episode I it, this episode, like it could be fucking anybody. Like at the party, there was a few all of the weird like smiley shots of Noel were like obviously suspicious. There was one shot in particular where they like zoomed in on Mona kind of like in the background but kind of like holding station amongst a group of other kids. Um Ian with the matching tags is obviously suspicious. Lucas is fucking weird as shit. So at this point, I'm starting to develop like a team of people.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's safe to go with a team. Yeah, I don't know. I just also like with some of these people, I don't really know what their connection would be.
Right. Yeah. That it's tricky. I
They
don't
do
know.
make a really good they do make a good case for it being 1A and that like it doesn't seem like a lot of people really get along.
Right.
Um but yeah, so wait, I want to tell you I found an article. Pigeon, get off me. I'm so sorry, but like she's literally shoving her asshole in my face and I feel bad because I like kind of want to like stop berating my cat on my podcast, but she makes it really hard. Okay. So Um, at the time of filming, when Shay Mitchell started, she was playing 16. She looked 23, or she was 23. Lucy Hale was 16-year-old Aria Montgomery, but in real life she was 20. Sorry, this article is written strangely. Um, Tyler Blackburn, who we haven't met yet, Caleb, he was 23. We have Bianca Lawson was 31.
Okay.
Maya. Troy Belisario was 24 when she started her role as 19-year-old Spencer Hastings. Keegan Allen was 20 years old, so that's Toby. I guess Toby was 20 as both. Oh, they don't know Toby's age, but he was about 17. That's what they say. Um,
Okay.
Sasha Patiers was 13 when she played 15-year-old Allison. But you said she was 12 in the pilot?
That's what IMDb says.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think it's like she has a thing to her where it's like, well, obviously Alabama Barker has, Travis Barker's daughter. She's
Mhm.
always been raised in a way that is like questionable. But like she's I think possibly and partially because she's Shayna Moakler's daughter. She has always had a she's always had a um mature look to her.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what Sasha is too, where she just sort of has like a beautiful sort of adult, I feel like gross saying this, but like a beautiful adult looking face at a young age.
Well, I also think it's funny though because like yeah, I don't know, I feel weird saying it too, but like she has like chubby cheeks or like whatever. Like you know what I mean? It's not like she looks like I mean, she's beautiful, but it's not like she looks like she should be walking like the Victoria's Secret like runway. You know what I mean? But she she doesn't look 12.
No, not at all. No.
It's
Um,
very crazy.
but yeah, guys, we have to wrap this up. I have to get this up because we're trying to stick to our thing of doing this every, twice a month. And so without hard set dates, but I want to get this guys to you guys by the 31st. And also, um, yeah, hopefully maybe in the future we can add more if my life changes.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, guys, love you so
Thanks.
much. Talk to you tomorrow.
Stay lying.
Stay line.
Stay lying.
Oh, yes. Stay lying, you guys. Absolutely. Okay, Scoot, I love you. Let's maybe figure out if we want to recap Vanderpump.
Okay, I'm down.
All right, you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.